Hi everyone. Hello. We're just gonna be for Regina to make a tea. We're gonna wait for Regina to make a tea before we start.
Just making one for everyone.
Okay, great. We're gonna get cracking now. Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to have you all here today. When Peter and I started thinking around designing programs that engages our experts, our mentors, and our investors with our founder community, one of the things we designed is this program, and we called it the How To series. And I'll tell you why that name is important and why I always, whenever I have a chance to speak about it, I mention it. The How To is exactly what it is, how to. And so it means there's a problem, but how do you navigate that problem? We don't want a masterclass style session, we want a workshop style session. And why it's important for us is because we want to do a hands, fold your hands, fold your sleeves, and get your hands dirty and get the work done. Thanks, Steve. Get the work done. So it's important for us to do that. And over the past 18 months, we've designed this program, had it done every single month, invited multiple experts and mentors to come speak to us around how to a certain problem. Today, we do know what social media is. I was reading research last week and it mentioned that the primary source of news for Americans is now the social media. Gone are the days when we bought the Sun newspaper, hard copies, or we had to subscribe to Times magazine. Right now, you take your phones and with 2 clicks, you have the news right next to you. But what does it mean for business owners? A business owner can leverage on the waves that social media provides. And for us who are founders solving spectacular problems around different sectors and areas, it does mean that we also need to leverage social media. But sometimes when I speak with founders, they say to me, oh, I'm also good with social media. Oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, I don't know how to get it done. And then David Miller came in to deliver a session on customer discovery. And when he did, he said to me after the session when we were having a debrief, and he said to me, I do think we need to solve the question around how to leverage LinkedIn. And have you heard about the LinkedIn professional? Like, no. And then he says, you should talk to Mark White. I'm like, okay, David, thank you. And then I sent an email to Mark White, and I sent him my LinkedIn profile. I said, hey, I think we chatted on LinkedIn.
We did.
Yeah. It was on LinkedIn. At the time I was on LinkedIn. And then I said to him, I think we should have a chat. And then I closed that conversation. I didn't pick it up. And then 4 months after, I was speaking to David Miller again, and he says to me, have you spoken to Mark White? and this is because, social media gets to me in a way. I really love using social media. I grew my Instagram page from 0 to 18,000 in less than a year. So I understand how to use it, but sometimes I just feel it's too much. And then I had a meeting with Mark, and the first thing I said to him was, social media can be too much. And he looked at me and said to me, you have to treat social media as though you treat a networking event. And when he said that, it made sense. He said, you go in, when you meet someone for the first time, do you just stay with them and just stay with them, and then when they go to the loo, you walk with them, and then you go to their car, you walk with them? He said, no, when you do that, you walk up to them, introduce yourself, talk about what you do, and when you're done, you close the loop. He said, so why don't you treat your LinkedIn that way? Engage and close the loop. You're done. Oh, this is great. Come chat to our founders about this. And that's why Mark is here. Mark has been doing this for decades, training multiple organizations on how to leverage on social media, especially LinkedIn, to build your business. And today we will explore that. For the first time since we started working on this session is going to go for 3 hours and not 1 hour. Typically we do 1 hour and go into Q&A and we're done. But here's the model Mark and I have discussed, and we can talk about this some more. We do a 1 hour session. We go for a tea break, okay? And then we go for another hour session. We do lunch immediately. You grab your lunch, you come into the room, and then we do our Q&A with closing. Does that make sense? Is that okay with everybody? You sure? You sure? If you have to leave at any time, that's it's okay. if you have to leave at any time, that's absolutely okay. There's a camera behind you, is recording Mark. He has a mic next to him, and we're going to put it on Statium. So it means any parts you miss, because you're in the event today, you get access to it, and so you can catch up. Okay. Mark does this full time, is what he does. So it means that he's an expert on our program. If at any point you want to engage with him on a one-to-one basis, you can. Okay, I can share his email address and you can speak with him if you do need a deep dive into LinkedIn. But I'm hopeful that after the session this morning, that you'll get insights on how to build a business leveraging social media. Thank you all for coming in. Super excited to have you around today, and we hope you have a great time. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much for the intro. Better than I could have done. So that's brilliant. Well, good morning, everyone, and extend my thanks to you for coming along this morning as well. My only slight concern with the intro was you keep going on about LinkedIn as social media. Now, yes, what can I say? It is to an extent, but I'd like to try and distance it just slightly from, because I can see some TikTokers among you. No?
Not me.
No? No? Fair enough. People have had different sort of perceptions of what social media is. You know, we started out with it being Facebook, for those who remember such things, even Friends Reunited. Oh, my goodness me. Anyway, I can see, yes, yeah? CompuServe. Thank you for that as well. Going back even further. Anyway. LinkedIn clearly has been around a long time. However, is there some social media in it? Absolutely. And particularly over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, those of you who are sort of familiar with LinkedIn will have seen really quite a big change in both the type of content, but also how people are using it, as well as a proliferation, I would say, of dogs and cats on LinkedIn, which seems to have sort of suddenly exploded. Not exploding dogs and cats, sorry, that's a bad sort of picture to put in your head. However, it has changed in terms of how we might care to use it. And what I want to try and sort of just explore today, I guess, is a little bit about how you might be able to use some of the capabilities in here for your own purposes, which is the key bit. Are you all on LinkedIn? Anyone not on LinkedIn? Okay. Good start, if I may say so, so congratulations. What do you do on LinkedIn would be my next question. Sir, since you're here, right in the front.
Well, broaden your network of people and like-minded.
Okay, so networking, yeah? Finding the right people, bit of stalking?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Do you stalk openly?
For the right reasons, yeah.
Due diligence, do we call it?
Legal reasons.
Legal reasons, okay. Right, so broadening your network for yourselves?
I think finding people, knowing more about them.
Okay, so we're back to research again and stalking, actually. Well, I'm seeing a theme here. Okay, that's lovely.
Yeah, research is a better word.
But research prefer, sir?
Outreach, so
Okay.
trying to get conversations with the right people to get market research, but then also to try and close deals as well.
What's selling? On LinkedIn? Great, okay, that's good. Okay, so you use it as a way of actually leveraging your network to get in front of people and I guess put the word out. Sorry. Storytelling. Oh my God, you've been prepping that, haven't you? Good answer. What's the storytelling?
Personal stories, so people can buy into you as a person.
Yep.
People buy into people more than they do into products and services usually, especially in kind of B2B, which is, I can imagine, most, maybe.
Don't know, yeah.
Maybe a mix. But again, it's building trust and relationships with people over long periods of time.
I don't think I'm needed here, in all honesty. You seem to have got it all sort of down pat, which is brilliant. No, spot on. And all of those things, again, we'll have a quick look at, and it does relate in that sense back to the social media, and as you kindly shared, back to this idea of I want it to be as much as possible something which is very much a face-to-face type of conversation for exactly the reasons. We buy into people. And actually, therefore, if I treat you simply, me as a keyboard warrior, banging out some likes, see, that was the like symbol there, yeah? Then it's not going to get me very far, or it's only going to get me so far. Please.
I've used it as a way of showcasing my skills.
Okay, yeah.
So if I meet people and we quickly go, we'll join on LinkedIn, they can go and see what I can do.
Okay, so you...
Talking to me, really.
So using it almost as a demonstration, a brochure, could I even say, sort of?
CV.
Well, I'm going to push back on the CV front, if I may, and I'm going to sort of move it more towards the brochure. Only because we can add extra things in. And as we go, and we'll have a look at your profiles, if that's okay, CVs look backwards. I'd like you to take what's happened before and all the things you've done and make it look forwards. So that'd be my slight sort of pushback on the CV front, because we want to show all the brilliant stuff, and this is all accumulated, and now this is how I'm putting it together, and this is what I can do for you. So we now talk to the audience, but in a sort of forward-looking perspective, if we can. So yeah, showcasing skills, really good. Sir?
Yeah, do you think LinkedIn's changed quite a lot over the years? Because things I used to do a lot on LinkedIn, there were groups, and now that's not really a thing anymore, it seems.
It sort of took a downward trend about 8 years ago, yeah.
And as a recommendation, so that if somebody was linked to you, it's because you're going, yeah, they're a solid person that I recommend. And now most people just link to anybody that asks.
And some who don't.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. There are very many different ways to use LinkedIn. As I said, we're going to have a look at this as this idea of you actually face-to-face with people, but we actually network in very different ways. So I get a lot of people who do actually use LinkedIn very much as an address book. In other words, people they've met, people they've had chats with. But the other end of the scale is there's also people, used to call themselves lions, LinkedIn open networkers. And they would connect with anyone. And actually, there's a whole range. Some people are still very much only people that I know quite well or really well or have met. There are, however, an awful lot who are trying to gather, if you like, this pool of people, because serendipity, let's get, connect with as many people, who knows where it's going to take us. There is no right way to use LinkedIn. Both of those are completely valid. It's a case of how you wish to use it, but you're right, there is a caution element therefore when you meet someone. Do they actually know that person? Don't know, because it depends how they've interacted. But okay, yep, and certainly the change is there. Any others just out of interest? Anyone use it for recruitment, job seeking? Job seeking. So there's elements to that, isn't there? Putting yourself out there, getting involved with the right sort of organisations.
Absolutely. I put myself out there trying to sell myself.
Yeah.
And see if I can attract somebody who needs my services.
Absolutely. And so that's another element that we can build in, I guess.
Basically, we've only been at it for 5 days, so.
Okay.
Early days.
Okay, so you're a early starter? No? Okay.
I've been on LinkedIn for, 5 or 6 years, but never used it. It was just there in the background. But needs must. So, a week ago, as I say, I got an assistant.
Got on that.
To help me
and got it started.
And make me look nice, basically.
Okay.
Make it sound even better.
Well, we'll have a look at your profile and see how he or she's done. She's done. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to try and bring all of these things in, if I may. Got our time frame, so I'm going to try and keep to them if I can. The elements, however, that I'm going to start with, if I may, is a rather bizarre one. I would like you, in order to try and get the best from LinkedIn, to first of all forget that you're on LinkedIn. In other words, if we go in there with this sort of preconception of what social media means or what I should do on social media or how I should act, because actually suddenly I'm trying to act in a way that isn't me. I'm trying to put forward something that actually is this sort of, a different incarnation of me. So what I'd like you to do is, first of all, forget that we're talking about LinkedIn and come back to basics for your business. What's your business goal? What are you trying to achieve? Who's the audience that you want to talk to? What routes do you already have in place that will allow you to find them and to engage with them? And with those sort of basic, who, what, and why, and all the rest of it, we can then start to see how LinkedIn can come and actually help that, and whether some of the tools it's got are actually going to be beneficial to you. And those are the tools we're going to try and sort of play with to see if we can match it up. A couple of you just taking pictures there. Very welcome too. Please don't make me look at them if you've included me. That's my only sort of proviso. However, I will make sure you have all the slides. So again, build that in as you wish. So my first element, as I said, is really just to forget that you're on LinkedIn and actually come back to what you do, which is your business. and why you've set it up and for all the things that we put on here. And then we're going to try and use that if we can to bring it across. If I take it back to basics, you took it back to groups, which goes back about 9 years. I look around the room and recognise most of you won't remember these things, but I've still got one in there. Thank you. Still maybe got one in the garage somewhere. LinkedIn was set up in 2003, so it's 22 years old. It's actually a year older than Facebook, so it was sort of the granddaddy, if you like. It's 15 years older than Instagram. I mentioned TikTok earlier. I have no idea when TikTok started, but it's a lot older than that as well. It started up very much with you and your network around you. Yeah, so you went into this big room, if you like. You had people around you, and it was how those interacted with other people's. Which is great, and it still actually holds that core element of LinkedIn even today. My preference, however, if I had to bring a sort of an analogy or an idea of LinkedIn, is to think of it as a sort of Swiss Army knife. It can do loads and loads of different things. But actually, you're only going to use the ones that are going to be useful to you. Don't know if you ever had one of these. I used to use this for everything. Serrated saw, sticks, yep. Opening cans, yep. Something to play with in A&E, having opened cans with it, yeah. So we will focus in on bits that are going to be relevant to us. And today we're going to focus in on the bits that are going to help you, I hope, tell your story, identify the people you want to talk to, find the right people to engage with. Although groups don't exist for that, we can find other ways to do that, and to try and make sure that we can use the bits that you want to the best possible way. What we're going to do, marketing, sales, as you might imagine, building relationships, bit of recruiting maybe as you go into second, third phase, who knows. Lots of ways that we can use LinkedIn. And the bit that I guess I will throw in the midst of that is a little bit on the networking side, because we want to talk to people, but also the personal branding. Yeah, getting yourself across there in whatever way. Now, personal branding has this sort of slightly different aura nowadays. It seems as though it's, we have to be all sort of shiny. I'm not good on being shiny, except when it's hot, and then I go very shiny, so apologies for that. But actually, how you get you across is really important. And for me, how you come across is likely to be the profile. That's going to be a key. But it's actually also what you post, how you interact with people. If I meet you on LinkedIn or I meet you in real life, then how do I come across? How do I approach you? Hello, you. It's very different. Hello, and you are. In other words, we've got very different ways of engaging, and that has an impact on how you're going to perceive me, how my personal branding comes across. I still like this to be what people say about you when you're not in the room. Reputation, we used to call it in my day. But we'll go with personal branding nowadays, because that's the buzzword. Being authentic, another buzzword. There we go. Thunder's been slightly stolen from this, but I'll let him off. Thank you. My encouragement is to treat LinkedIn as though it's a big room. In other words, that actually we've got a room of 1.1 billion people. You walk into that room and you have a purpose. You have a reason for being in there. What is your reason? A number of you have already kindly expressed why you might go in there. I would also suggest you have some supporters in there. You have people you've dealt with in the past, that you've dealt with within your current startup, that perhaps you're working with. You have a load of people in there that actually you can rely on and you can use in a good way. So let's do that, because that Rolodex that you have around you is absolute gold, because it's the people who know you and how good you are. We do need to leverage that. I'm sure you are in real life, or at least I hope you are. You talked to me about the contacts sorry, I had to chat outside just briefly. So you talked to me about the contacts that you've got, and I guess you're sort of building those into your current business. We need to be doing that, and LinkedIn allows you not only to find them on LinkedIn, but also to find their contacts. So we can start to work that second and third degrees that we can tap into. Ultimately, you have a story to tell. And therefore, we have the best possible place to tell that story, and we can hopefully identify the people who want to receive that story or hear about it. They may not know it yet, but they do. Ultimately, our aim is to engage, build recognition, and hopefully follow up outside of LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is not where business is going to happen. All LinkedIn is going to do is open the doors, find where the connections, the commonalities lie, identify, I hope, the right people for you to talk to. Yeah? So we're going to try and sort of tap into all of those. However, just because you're on LinkedIn doesn't mean a thing. I'm still going to ignore you, as the little cartoon said. And that was written in 2007, but it's still as true today as it was then. For me, if I go into a big room and I try and work the room, I'm a really bad networker. So I, first of all, am going to identify people I know. I really will encourage you to use your network, even if it's a very focused network, as you kindly mentioned, would be good. The reason is, it's an opportunity to develop their relationship. Maybe they don't know what you do. Maybe they've got half an idea, but actually don't really know. Or maybe actually it's moving really quickly, so it's changed slightly. And actually you've now got a slightly different focus. Building the relationships, therefore, and keeping people up to date, your advocates, is really good. The other thing, of course, is that, and the reason I guess I go in there, it's my sort of safe haven, but I know that they're going to introduce me to people. And actually, they are very likely to do that. This is how we work. If I'm talking to your good self and actually I know someone who could be really interesting to you, hold on, let me bring them up. We would do that very naturally because we want to. We like to help. So therefore, actually talking to the one and then being able to find their connections, and of course within LinkedIn, you can do exactly that. You can look at the connections of someone. We're connected now, aren't we? Unless you've turned it off, which you may have done, then I could look at your address book, essentially. It's like leaving your Rolodex on here while you've popped off to the loo. I might have a quick look through. In a nice way. So a second way to move that is actually to leverage the relationships you've already got. The third one, and this is where I really fall down and I get the feeling you are really good at, is actually to go up to someone and actually introduce yourself and actually start the conversation from scratch. Are you good at that? Yeah? I need to learn. Oh, not so good. Some yes down here. I'm not good at that. It's like cold calling, it feels to me. And I'm really bad at that. This, of course, doesn't have to be cold calling, because what we have on LinkedIn, if we bring it back to that, is we have their profiles. We can find exactly the right people in that big room, and then we can find out about them. And actually, we suddenly find out that you both studied at a certain place, or actually you know someone who used to work with them at a previous company, and suddenly it isn't a cold call anymore. It is you tapping into that extended network, that extended family you've got. And the final one is, as I wander around the room, I'm listening to conversations going on. And here again, if I've got a number of people talking about your area of expertise, the area that you are actually focusing on within your startup, well, I can wander over and I can listen. And at a given moment, I can sort of put my 2 pence in. And I go, really? And I didn't know that. Yeah, well, actually, we did this, and this. You've now become part of that group. And the groups that the gentleman over there was talking about, and that I'm afraid has sort of gone by the way, it's been replaced a little bit by, can we find the right conversations in that room? Because actually joining that, allows us to raise our profile within a group, if you like, of people, but it also allows us to see who's in that group, allowing you in turn, of course, to then extend that network, extend the ripple effect. So in all of these ways, I'd like to think that the analogy of the big room is quite a nice one, but it's also one that you would do very naturally in the real world. We're going to spend the rest of the session looking at how that real world can be interpreted within the confines of LinkedIn. A reminder, though, that there is more than one way to work that room. So it's up to you. You will go in there with a purpose in mind, with an audience in mind. How you then approach that, essentially it depends on who you are and how you do it. As I said, I personally just sit in a corner and hope, but that's not a good strategy. One final thing before we have a look at profiles, which is going to be our first bit if you like, is don't forget we do need to make your site work for you. Now, as much as possible, though I recognise in the first bit not so much, and we're going to spend on LinkedIn. That's about as big as I can get it. We okay? Just about? Yeah? You've all got better eyes than I have then, so thank you. I'm glad about that. There are lots of ways that we can sort of customise the site just a little bit. You talked about due diligence, and I had a question: do you do due diligence openly or sort of surreptitiously? Say again? Openly. If I go to my settings page, so under me in the main menu, and we go down to settings and privacy, there is a whole host of different things that we can play with just a little bit. I'm just going to take that down one level. There we go. So there's a lot of things over here. One of which is, as you say, when we look at someone's profile, they know that we've looked. So we leave a trace. LinkedIn has that as, unlike most other platforms, we leave a footprint. So actually we can see who's looked at our profiles. LinkedIn's moving bits of this into the premium, which is a pity. However, at the top here, if you would prefer to do due diligence with diligence and not leave a footprint, then we can do so. So here, if we decide actually we'd like to be in private mode, you can turn it to that so that when you look at someone's profile, they are no longer aware that you've looked. So if you want to do a bit of checking before you put your head above the parapet, then we have that capability to do so. On the free account, you do definitely take all of the options of them seeing that, of who's looking at yours out of the equation. But in general, it is that idea of back and forward. Do you want people to know that you've looked or not? Are you above board or below board?
Depends.
Depends, there we go, excellent answer. Here's where we change the depends, yes? So in most cases, my encouragement to you is you want people to know. So that when you look at their profile, what do we leave behind? We leave behind your name, your photo, and this thing. This thing is called your headline field. It's right at the top of your profile. It's one of the most important things that you can look at and change because essentially it follows you around LinkedIn. It's like your own personal tagline, or indeed perhaps a 3-second elevator pitch if you want to think of it in those terms. We'll have a look at that when we get to the profile in just 2 minutes. If, however, you want to do private mode, then you can do research. You're looking for new people, new organisations, but you don't necessarily know who in that organisation. Maybe you're going to look at 2 or 3 profiles. Maybe you would do that private mode so they don't know, so that you don't then approach someone, ignore them, go and talk to someone else, and then that person says, actually, this is the person you want to talk to. And it gets a bit awkward. So we can play it back and forward if we want. The one thing I will encourage, however, is before asking someone to connect, let them see you've looked. So even if you've looked at private mode, change it back to full name, revisit their profile, and you leave a digital trail that they can actually see. So it becomes not me walking up to you with a paper bag on my head, and you're thinking, weird, but okay, we'll go with it. It's me walking up and actually it's starting the conversation. Yeah, so have a think about how you wish to play that and if you want to work it to your benefit. Another one in here just under visibility, who can see your connections. Again, the default is if we're connected to each other, then you can see my Rolodex. You can actually look through my address book. If you're uncomfortable about that, then again under connections, you can turn that off. Yeah, I have mine turned off at the moment. So again, it's for you to decide how you wish to play the system, and there's a lot of ways to play that. There's lots of other things in here, obviously way too much for just one session, but if you've got a Friday evening, pint of beer, glass of wine, great place to hang out. I mean, loads of fun in there. Okay, take that as a no. Thank you for that. 2 things I will just find out. A, security. Can I encourage you under sign-in security, there we go, to turn on the 2-step verification if you haven't already? Just simply because there's a stopping. We've got lots of data in there. You've just had your profile nicely redone. That's you out there. If someone goes in and changes that, that's still you out there. And I don't want that. I want you to have that control. I think two-step verification really takes out one layer of potential sort of...
Can somebody actually do that?
If they hack your account, they can. And we know people out there who do all sorts of naughty things. No more on LinkedIn than anywhere else, but nevertheless, this I find is quite a barrier. So I personally would activate it. The other thing, a number of you have clearly played a lot with LinkedIn. I would love you to keep a record of all of that, both in terms of your connections, the messages you've sent, the posts you've made. So under data privacy, we have one element we can download on LinkedIn, get a copy of your data. I will encourage you to go in here and maybe once every couple of months, ask LinkedIn for a full download if you don't already. And you'll get a whole range of about 30 CSV files, and it will have connections, messages you've sent, the contacts you've made, all sorts of elements in there, things you've posted. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, and you could do that without having a premium?
Yep, everything we're doing today you can do without premium.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, so this one for me, we only have one legal download on LinkedIn, and this is it. But you get a load of stuff. As I said, it's about 35 files that comes your way. It's just a backup, yeah. So I would always encourage that. Final thing I'll just play with is we also, which email have you all got attached to your LinkedIn accounts? Work email? Personal email? Yeah. The new work or the previous work? This work. Okay. You can have more than one. So under sign-in and security, under email addresses, you can have more than one email address if you wish. My encouragement to you is, in fact, to have more than one. Yeah, because a bit of security in there. I mean, I've got about 10, which is sort of a bit schizophrenic, so don't go to that extent. There we go, yeah. So don't go down that route. But you can have more than one in there. The one I'm then going to encourage you to think about is what LinkedIn calls your primary email address. And that is the one that receives the notifications that they send out, but it's also the one that appears in your contact info. That, for me, is part of your branding. So all the things we're going to be looking at in terms of how you come across, this is another one. There was a gentleman, excuse me for this, but it was a director of a company, or had been. Anyway, he'd left obviously an email from earlier days, which was bigboy34@gmail.com as his primary email address. It wasn't part of his branding as he wanted it at the time. Therefore, we said, well, actually, we'll keep that in there if you wish, but we're going to put another one in and we're going to switch it so that we have the actual branding that you wish to put out there. I think it was a mistake on his part to have it as it was. And it was a bit of an unusual one, but I think we all have, no offence, I don't know if you've still got the CompuShare email address? No? Okay, that's all right. Because that gives off vibes as well, you see. I've still got one of the old ones. It's just a case of this is part of how you wish people to contact you. So again, please just control the dialogue, because that's how we want to play.
Private, so you don't get sort of spam.
You can do that as well if you wish. So if you wish to then, the default, if you like, is people can see your email if they're connected to you. However, again, so under sign-in security, that's where we can add them or change them around. The other one is under visibility, who can see or download your email address. This is where you can decide. The default is people you've connected, which of course you control. But if you wish to turn it totally off so that they can only contact you through the system, then that's great. I personally take the other approach because I'm trying to sell me. So anyone can have it, and I just deal with the spam, or indeed, getting scraped into different systems. So again, it is for you to decide what is going to be right for you. But you're right, yeah, we have the control, which is the key bit. There is a load more in there. Anyone like dark mode? You like dark mode? No? My son won't move for dark mode. Dark mode? Dark mode, it's dark mode.
Yeah, it's actually better on your eyes.
Well, do you know, that's exactly what he tells me as well. I just think it's look cool. I had someone who asked me, is dark mode the same as the dark web the other week? And I had to explain, probably not. There we go, you prefer that.
But that's for us to view, isn't it? It's not how our profile shows. That's how we choose.
Correct.
How we work through LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So if I have it in normal mode, as I would put it, then I see your profile with that. Someone else, however, will see it indeed with the black background. Yeah. So in all of these things, I guess my message to you is that we can modify and we can control a lot of what's going on. I'll just throw one more in if I may, and we'll come back to this when we look at the search. The thing that people sort of fixate a little bit on is the homepage. So loads and loads of stuff in there. We talked about cats and dogs on the homepage ahead of the session. LinkedIn decides what we see on our homepage. Sort of. The algorithm does. But we can, again, orchestrate this. So if you are seeing stuff that you do not want to see, then can I encourage you to help LinkedIn? So if you go to the 3 dots at the top of any post and you tell LinkedIn, well, actually, I'm not interested in this, and then perhaps seen too many on this subject, or I'm not interested in the author, or I've seen it before, so let's put that one, LinkedIn will learn. So actually, if you can take just a little bit of time to train the algorithm, you will find that the home page starts to take on a very different complexion. In other words, it will start to hopefully be much more what you are looking for. Because it's in LinkedIn's best interest, let's be honest, to keep you as much time on the site as possible. Because then you can look at the ads and you can do all that good stuff. So actually, to chase you away is not good. The other way, of course, is simply to engage on the posts that you have an interest in. And again, LinkedIn takes that as a sort of, sort of positive vibe, whereas this, of course, is that negative element. So the home page we can orchestrate, but it is still LinkedIn pushing stuff our way. A couple of you, however, talked about research, and I talked about joining conversations. So my other way of encouraging you to do this, and this one we do take total control, is if I go to the search box up here, there's different ways to do it. This is my preferred one. I just press enter, so I do a blank search. This takes me behind the search box, and we see we've now got a whole list. We've got 10 buttons. Essentially, these are the 10 areas that LinkedIn searches through whenever we do this keyword search up the top. If I ask it to focus purely on posts, what I now have is only posts on LinkedIn, and we can now say, well, actually, I'm only interested in posts on, what do we have? We had traffic. What keyword might you consider?
Highway technology.
Highway technology. So if I put highway technology in and keep my fingers crossed, now what it will do is it will only show me posts that contain the words highway and technology. So we're now, rather than taking all of this mass on here, but only stuff that people I'm connected to, and then what LinkedIn thinks might be useful, we're saying forget all that. I just want stuff on highway technology, and I would like it sorted so that I've got the latest at the top. So there we go, digital highways. Okay, so we've got to sort of realise that there's going to be that in there. But we start now to have a first set of topics and posts where we are researching the bits that we have an interest in. And if I want to narrow that down further, if there's organisations that you have a particular interest in, then when we are on here searching, we have a number of filters we can apply. And if we apply the searches, well, we can do the latest at the top, so we can change the order. But I can now also focus in on certain individuals, or I can focus in on posting from certain company pages. So we start now, again, to narrow it down, either with keywords still in there, or actually, I just want to research these organisations. I want to know what's going on in there, or I want to hear what these specific people, because I believe they're going to be good advocates or supporters of what I do, I want to listen to their posts. Partly to hear and see what's going on, but partly to engage with them. Because this now becomes the perfect place to engage with people, because it's essentially on their territory. We have found their conversation. They are leading the conversation somewhere. We're going over and listening, and we're participating. We've just raised our profile massively in front of an individual or a company that we have an interest in. Do you see how that could be used, I'm guessing? We go on, if we wanted to, we can see where companies have been mentioned, so again tagged. We can also look at certain industries, and we can also, if you wish, say, well actually I want to approach a company, so what I want is not just what the company is putting out on their company page, but I could add a company name in here and it will show me only posts from people who work at that company, who contain certain keywords. And now you're focusing in on particular specialists in a certain area if you want to do that instead. So immediately what we're doing is we're not walking into that big room and looking around and hoping. We're walking into that big room and we're going straight to a person or a conversation, and we know exactly who it is that we want to talk to and how we can use that to our benefit to essentially get ourselves in front of the right people. I don't know, do you play with this already? Is that something that could prove useful, again, to sort of cut through, shall we say, the noise that's in that room and focus in on the places where you want to engage?
You know what's really funny is as you're talking about that, a guy's posted on here, since I've tweaked that,
Yeah.
a guy's posted on here saying, LinkedIn, great, I'm currently only seeing posts circa 2 to 3 weeks after they were originally posted.
LinkedIn's algorithm has been really bad at the moment, so I've seen loads of stuff come up from 2-3 weeks ago. I thought, that looks a good event. No, damn. So yeah, absolutely. But with this, we cut all of that to one side. We also cut out all the ads, by the way, which of course is number 2, number 6, number 11 on your homepage. So we get rid of all that as well. So I like it. What you want to see and without the ads, or what you don't want to see with the ads.
Do you have to do this every time you log into LinkedIn or?
Well, you've almost read my mind there, which is a little bit spooky, but very much appreciated. No, all good, I'll show. What I tend to do here, there is no save search on this, certainly on this level of account. And those of you on the mobile, I'm afraid, I don't have a good solution for you. But you may notice on the desktop, we've got a URL full of stuff, which of course is all of the filters that we've applied down here. Therefore, if we bookmark this page, you now can go straight back to all of the filters that you've put in. So you can build up, if you like, almost a set of individual home pages that are relevant to your research or what you're interested in. Just as an example, if I may, I'm based in Norwich, and Loughborough seems very close, which is excellent. But I do a lot of stuff in Manchester and I've done stuff in Exeter. That's a long way. Therefore, what I'm trying to do is get more business within the Norwich area. So what I've done is I actually set up, well, I want to listen to a load of people, and I've picked out about 20 people in the Norwich area who seem to be sort of movers and shakers doing a lot of posting. Ordered them by chronological order, and what I did therefore is I then saved them, and I've put them here, comments, Norwich support. There you go. So what I do a couple of times a week in the morning is I click on that, and here are the 21 people that I've decided are my movers and shakers, as it were, ordered in chronological order, that I can go through and comment on. Stokely looks like a great event, wish I could make the next one. Hope you're keeping well, Stokes. His name is Stokely, and his company is Trendy Grandad, so I think I'm okay to say it in that way with him, bless. And he's really good at what he does, by the way, really, really good. Anyway, so immediately what I've now got is a listening of pool of people. Mine happens to be geographic. Yours may well be on certain topics or certain companies, and it's just a way to get in and be visible within the conversation, because as I comment, he will see it, but they will also tell a lot of the people who've liked it. In this particular case, he's got 14 already after 2 hours. So the other thing that I'll do is I will go in and I will look at, well, who's engaging locally on his posts. And as it happens, I'm not connected to any of them. These are all second-degree connections, where there's a co-founder there, there's someone doing travel brands, okay. So what I may go through is I will start to ask them to connect, because we have a commonality of, in this case, a guy called Stokely and his video business. You will have your own areas, clearly, but it is a great way to get you involved with the right people. Is that a nice play? I hope. It's really just to try and give you the tools to decide how you want to go about this. But I really like that one as a way to sort of work the system in your benefit. And also make it a bit more effective when you're on there. As opposed to, I do some doom scrolling sometimes. I go some rabbit holes on the homepage, pop up 2 hours later, think, what the hell have I just done? So here I'm desperately trying to make sure that I don't. Yeah, we good? Okay, so what we're doing here is really just allowing you to play the system, to customize the place. Yeah, and if you've got questions on this, then we'll have a play with them in the Q&A session. Hi, John. You okay with it?
I can't even read it.
Okay, it's you, apparently.
Yeah,
Okay. Apparently you're CEO and founder. Is that all right? Okay. So, to go to the first element, I guess, when you walk into that big room, people look at you. And how you're dressed, how you come across, sort of impacts their perception of you. So I've turned up today in shirt and tie, so you probably thought, oh, got a bank manager in. Insurance, what can I say? Or what's he doing with the tie on? Isn't it warm outside? I'm thinking the same, in all honesty. Had I turned up with my Motorhead t-shirt and my ripped jeans, different vibe coming, yeah? So the profile actually sets the scene in so many ways, but it is also, as we were chatting about briefly earlier, for me a brochure. I look at your profile, and indeed, I've looked through a number of your profiles. Yeah, done my crib sheet. That's what I know about you. Now, I get to know you properly. But that will have already influenced my thinking and my interest level. And if I see the stuff that you've got on there, I'm thinking, this looks brilliant, hope to have a chance to chat with him, then immediately we've got something which sets those ideals out. So my suggestion with your profile is to think about, A, who you want to talk to in that big room. Because if we try and be everything to everyone, we are going to fail. Because you just can't. If, on the other hand, you can put yourself out there, the skill set you bring, what you are looking to do with that, your products, the new services you bring, how those can be used, now we are both presenting it, and hopefully we are presenting it in the way that the audience that you want to talk to will actually understand. Again, no offence, we chatted earlier, you kindly explained it in a way that I could understand. I'm guessing with others you will explain it in a way that I couldn't understand because I ain't got a clue what you're on about, but they know exactly what you're on about and they love it. So we choose the audience that we want to talk to. Yeah? Essentially, until someone gets to know you, you're a stranger. And so what are they going to base it on? They're going to base on what they can find out about you. I don't know what your Instagram and your Facebook accounts are like, but let's keep the LinkedIn one clean, shall we? And focused. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we give off exactly the right messages that you want people to take away. And if that's the product, if that's the services, if that is the opportunity that you are presenting people, then that should be front and forward. There were a number of people on the list I was given where I've got very mixed messages because certainly on here, they're doing loads of different things. And that's great. But we need, I would suggest, to focus in on certain key ones if you want LinkedIn to work for you properly. Or else we have to explain where those different elements lie. Because no offense, there was someone I don't know if it was this mattress?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you lead with one thing, then you talk about another thing, and then you do some others, and by the way, I'm a this. And I'm thinking, this all sounds really good, but I don't know if I should be lying down because I want to test the mattress, or I should be thinking that, or I should be doing that. I don't know why I want to talk to him. I'm going to go for the mattress, I think. I don't know. So there was this all good, but I was left sort of, where's someone who just does mattresses? Oh, there. Okay, I'll go and talk to them instead. Cause I know. And we want to avoid that sort of happening, if you like. I'll also throw one more thing in. If I gave you these two profiles, where would you spend more time?
The nice shiny one with colours.
The nice shiny one with colours. The likelihood is we are drawn more to visuals. So again, we are likely to be drawn here. This may have loads more information, but because we have a photo, because we have a banner, we have this featured area, which is partway down, which allows you to show stuff off that you want to do. This is where we are likely to spend more time. It's unfair, but it's what we do. It looks more interesting. So I want you to allow all of the great stuff that you do to come through in a visual way, as well as in all the information that you're providing. Yeah, so we're just trying to play all these different things. Recognising we did sort of say we'll have a break. I'm going to ask for sort of 10 minutes. We'll just go a little bit further, and then we'll have a break, and then we'll tidy it up afterwards. I'm therefore going to encourage you to work your profile in exactly those ways. In other words, to try and use both the visual, but also get your messaging across, thinking about the audience you're trying to talk to. Yeah, if you wanted to leave a flyer which will make someone interested, what would be on it? How would you present it? What headlines would you have in there? And so this idea of it being a glossy brochure rather than a CV, they may want to know your credentials afterwards. That's great, that's in the work experience. But what we're going to lead with is how this can benefit them. Because with all due respect, people going onto LinkedIn and people walking into that big room are there for what they can get out of it, not waiting for you to come along, as I'm sure you're all aware. Therefore, let's show them what's in it for them to talk to you. No, you're good, you're good. So let's show them what's in it for them to come and spend time talking to you and finding about all the great stuff that you do. Yeah? We want to know about social proof. We want to show them off. We want to get people interested, and we want to get them to your website or to your phone number or to your door. So we have a call to action that we want to try and achieve as well. Yeah, so we want to try and put all of those together. So first bits, if I may. Your banner, the top part of your profile. The one you've got up there is the default. This is the one that I'm really going to encourage you not to have. If you've still got this one, please don't. You haven't, you're okay. You changed yours in between. I had to change all of my crib sheet, for God's sake. Hey?
No, I'm thinking of changing it again.
Consistency in branding, what was that? Page 2 of the old marketing textbook? What? Hey?
More of like the brochure, because I think it's obviously keeping the branding is important, but ultimately you want people to be better off having a more impactful thing than it looks nice.
It is up to you how you wish it to come across. The thing is actually really good. It's impactful, but it doesn't necessarily tell me what you do.
But that's more important than it looking nice.
And then maybe we could even do both.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So, but yeah, and these are the sort of decisions, and this is the trouble with having multiple things, for example, in a slightly different way, that this is your shop window. If I have a shop window on a theme and draws me in, then this is a brilliant thing, because actually I know what I'm going to get when I go in the shop. If I've got loads of stuff in there, well, it looks interesting, but I'm not quite sure why I want to go in. So the banner there, not too bad. If you want to do something which is just sort of generic, well, at least you've got some sort of oomph there. So that's great. But it still doesn't tell me what's inside the shop. There we go. Sleep your way. That would be a narcotic, would it? Yummy. Yummy, yummy. Sorry. What it does, it starts the process going, and actually you go into your profile and explains it very well. But nevertheless, so we've got something which is very brand driven, which is, again, what you have on yours. And actually a couple of other, yours did as well, didn't it? Sorry, yes. So it's a case of we can lead with the brand, or we can build the brand into perhaps something which is perhaps more colourful, if we wanted. It's up to you. We are constrained by 1583 by 396. And after that, and there's a big photo that goes here, and it's even a bigger one on the mobile, so we want to avoid stuff there. And this is my only slight concern with yours, because there's a lot on it. And if I put this on a mobile, it goes quite small. So there's a lot of information here, and I wonder if there's too much. Would it be better to highlight one or two things? So it's not wrong. None of these are wrong. It's just a case of how we want each of the different things to come across. Sorry, I only had one or two people, so I'll just put a couple up here. So it's just a case of this shop window is how do we want to get across and what do we want to get across? So, sorry.
Is there a free database of images you can...
Nick, I believe it's called the internet. Sorry, with one or two, Getty gets really quite annoyed about stuff with these sort of things, actually.
So do all the photographers.
So do all the, sorry, okay, fair point. Okay, well, there are clearly a lot of already sort of free to download type images, or take your own, in all honesty. But so LinkedIn doesn't have any. LinkedIn, I'm afraid, helps us in no way whatsoever in this respect. They're just there for a place to put them. But yes, please do be careful on anything that is either sort of copyrighted, because they're not happy generally. So.
There's an example. Unsplash is an example of where you can just...
Okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah. If not, again, there's lots of sites where you can pay a relatively nominal sort of amount. It's quite good. But Unsplash, there we go. Thank you. So have a think about what's going to get your message across. This actually gets your message across very nicely. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
You should do a rebrand, Richard.
No, though I do someone very good who I'm only on a slight commission for. No, so it's nice. It's very visual. It's all great. But what we just need to do is it going to be in line with what you want to convey? Yeah, we have this shop window. It's a billboard. If I do put up, Rich, are you okay with?
Yeah.
No. That's not in any way, shape, or form what I'm here for. So if I go onto your profile, this is what LinkedIn calls the introduction card. So when I go to your profile, it fills the screen. The biggest bit of it is your banner. Therefore, clearly, that is the bit I'm going to focus in on first. Yours is perfect on a big screen. Got a little one, but it's just a little bit around the bottom.
Hearing what you're saying.
Still all fine. There's a lot of information there. That's all. But you had something, which is good. So it's a case of how do we communicate in here that you want to read on, because that's its job. Its job is to introduce you. Visual. Yep, looks fab. Yeah, he looks very friendly. Yeah. And then we've. I know. I just. And then we've got this bit here. So we're just going to look at each of those just for a second. But it's important because it is actually going to decide whether I bother to read on or not. Yeah. So try and make it work for you. So the banner itself, really good, really important. Also really important to have a good photo. This is the image that stays with me until I meet you in person. Yeah, so whatever it is, it doesn't have to be the sort of formal one, but it has to be something it remembers. The second bit, though, is also really important. So we'll just do this and then we'll have a break. This is 220 characters that sit just under your name. Yeah, it's the first bit of text. You may have text up here as well, but it's the first bit of text we see on the profile. It is also the text that follows you round the site. Here's mine. And I'm just quite down to earth, really. I use a lot of text. Apologies, a bit boring. But helps you unlock. Here are two people who do the similar thing to me. This person likes emojis. She's much more lively. She puts keywords in there. Yeah, blog, yeah. This person, we're going straight for the sale here. LinkedIn Selling Mastery, learn how to get it right. Client says, in a week, do this, I'll make you some money. Here, currently working for your competitor on and get FOMO. We're going FOMO now. Award-winning, world champion. Doesn't exist, by the way, but we'll go with it. Certified LinkedIn ad specialist. Again, doesn't actually exist, but I'm going to let it slip. reassuringly expensive LinkedIn coach. Used to have one which was, I'm the LinkedIn trainer, ... You should have hired. Bit of an edge. We all do the same stuff, but we come across really, really differently. How do you come across? What do you want to lead with? Because actually how you present yourself is how they're going to hold you in here. Yeah? So, a suggestion is, founder at and then your company name is not what we want. Because it doesn't actually tell me anything. It's not talking, you're telling me, I guess, what you do, your job title, not what you can do for me as I read it. If you want, however, you want to keep that, no issue, but tell me a little bit about what your business does. Make it a bit more exciting, get me involved. Do bear in mind, however, that LinkedIn, as I said, although you got 220 on your profile, only shows about 85 on the site. So it'll be founder at, a small but perfectly formed, and that may be it. And then they have to go to your profile to see what is perfectly formed. So maybe it'd be better to lead with the things that are actually going to sort of, oh, right, you do that. You could, however, also here, now forget about your job title and focus in on, this is what you get. This is what's in it for you to come and talk to me. This person, are you in the room?
Naomi.
Oh, no.
She has a representative. Well, this is
A representative.
This is Lauren, who's representing
Hi,
today.
Naomi. So, pop-up experience that bring excitement of discovery. Or right to your doorstep or school. So it probably cuts off about there. But it immediately, it's not my job. This is what you can get. Come and talk to me. We do this for you. And so that's a really nice way from a business perspective, or the service. And then this one down here, again, this is your good self. This is now focusing back on yourself, but it tells me loads of good stuff. But it's focusing on the person. This is focusing on the business or the experience, if you like. Both of which, so for yourself, again, you talked about selling you, essentially, or the talents and the skills you bring. So again, what is going to do that for you in each of those circumstances? Because these three elements here, the banner, the photo, and essentially this headline field, is where we start with the introduction, and it moves us through. On that, if I may, we said we'd have coffee. So we're going to have a short break, and we're going to go through the rest in just a second, but we'll have that quick break that we promised you. Is that right? Okay. Thank you. I think that was aimed at me more than you, actually. I overran on the first one. Okay, so top bit we'll talk about here is this sort of first bit of your profile. We want something that's enticing, drawing in, or giving a first message, and that's the key bit, yeah? What we've then got are two other bits down here that are the top bits. We've got the CV, by the way, that comes below. Please do fill that in, the work experience. But for most of you, they're not even going to get down to, that's almost a later thing. What they want to know is, the about section is the next bit. Our opportunity right below this intro to tell me about yourself. So I walk into this big room. We had this analogy of a big room, LinkedIn being that. And so I walk up to you and I say, what's up? Tell me about yourself. What do you do, AJ?
What do I do?
No, it's all right, I'm joking. I do apologise. Probably don't call you AJ at all, do they? Oh, they do. Okay, there we go. In that case, good thing to call you. Thank you. But whatever your answer would be in that context, why you've gone into that big room, was probably going to be a good thing to talk about in the about section. In other words, it's your chance to put yourself forward, put yourself out there. What do you want them to take away and remember?
And this is personal, not business.
This is your choice.
The other's been very business, hasn't it? So
For me, I'm sort of presenting this in a way, I hope, sorry, I'm not presenting anyway. The way you can do this is whatever you wish it to be. And talked about stories right at the start. And it's really a case of, well, actually, where does the story come from? Is it the company? Is it you? Well, it's probably actually both. And so, funnily enough, if I go to the next slide, it's a case of what you do and what you offer or what the company offers and actually talk about whatever is the right mix for you. And if you are the company and that is the sort of leading light on that, well, actually that's probably what you're going to lead with. With a background in this, I decided this just wasn't working. We couldn't do this, so, and then you lead me almost into where you are and what you're offering now. The About section is 2,600 letters worth of whatever you want it to be. The only thing I will encourage you to do is put something in there. Because there were a couple of you, the ones I had looked through, where there wasn't anything, which means you leave it up to me. And I don't want you to leave it up to the person viewing your profile. I want you to allow them to sort of share your experience, share the story. So, some suggestions. First of all, and again, there was a couple of people who were writing in third person. I'd love this to be you talking to me, trying to sell me, as you would do it personally. So I would do first person rather than third person. If not, you walk up and say, "Hello, Mark." I said, "I'd like to introduce you to Mark. And Mark here, it's a bit weird, isn't it?"
Weird.
It's an avatar. It's almost like doing AI or something. Anyway, sorry. So, but how you go about it, whether you just talk to me in terms of a story, which is great, because what do people love reading? It's the story. How did you get here? They want to know what it does as well, but they love to know the history. So this is your opportunity to tell them that a little bit. We can also focus in on you. What drove you in this way? But also, therefore, what do you now do based on that experience for others? But how does it help? Again, sorry to come back to you, you kindly share the technologies you were talking about, but then you gave me examples of how it can save lives and how it can help. Well, clearly I'm going to buy into that. We didn't talk about frequencies and transmission methods and latency and all that sort of stuff because I wouldn't have known I don't even know if those are the right words, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, thank you. It's like my son. What did he say yesterday? Oh, if you eat lots of this, it stops the build-up in, lactose acid. I said, I don't think you mean lactose acid at all. And he said, no, I don't. Actually, it's lactic, isn't it? And I said, it's very different. It stops building up milk or no. I digress. Anyway, use the About section in whatever way you want it. In other words, build it up, outline the service, perhaps give examples. Examples is a great sort of communicator. Maybe if you've got an early adopter, or multiple early adopters, maybe you could give a quote from them. We worked with them. It wasn't actually, it was brilliant. And this is what was happening, and this is the benefit we've seen. Lots of ways that we can play it. It's up to you how you do it. I prefer it to be more you, as in personal, than simply, this is what we do, here's the history of the company, here's the services we provide, here's where you can get hold of me. Though ultimately we want all of those things built in, probably. But if you can draw me into that story, then I think that's a really good thing to play with. The one thing I'll add is that if you go to someone's profile, then, who did have a profile with an About section in it? Sorry, I'm trying. Jack. I can use yours as well if you want. This gentleman's just gone, hasn't he? Of course. So basically, if you go down to the About section, then as you can see, we see the first 4 lines. Yeah, so essentially this is the above the fold bit. So what it actually needs to do is not tell as much of a story as it can, it's trying to actually get you to click on the see more where you got the full 2,600. So treat this almost as the hook, as the headline. Get their interest. Get them to click on here and to read the rest of it, where actually all the information sits. So have a think about how that could work. And just as a suggestion for you, there's loads of ways that you can play it. Again, there is no right way to do it, but I use something called a sort of PAS format. So problem, agitate, solution, you're probably familiar with. In other words, on my own one, for example, what I try not to do is say, hi, I do some LinkedIn training, though really that's all I do, so that's very sad and boring in itself. But what I do is I try and sort of, well, have you ever thought about this? How do you find people? How do you build engagement? So I'm trying to say, is this your problem? Is technology a problem? Yeah? Is it? So therefore, and then, you know, what's going to happen if you are, is this what's going to happen? Well, actually, you're not going to use LinkedIn. You're going to waste time. You go down rabbit holes, and actually it's going to get you nothing. There is a solution. And then hopefully that's encouraged them enough to then read on and read the solution. You have exactly that. And I can only imagine that the conversations you have leads on, well, can you imagine this scenario? And does this happen? Well, we have a solution for you. And actually then, you then talk about the solution that's coming. And I wonder whether that might be a better way, because actually a lot of people probably don't even know they need what you do. And so what we need to do is just make them aware, I guess, of that situation to then provide them with the solution in one easy step. So that sort of makes sense in terms of the format. Now, whether that is you as an individual or whether that is you as the company, really it's up to you. It depends, I guess, how much those two are intertwined or which is the sort of leading force behind it. But that's what I would encourage you perhaps to think about. Use this as your intro to get their attention, to draw them in. And we have at the moment 4 lines to do that. Don't forget you can play with top skills. So if you edit your profile up here, you can also add in 5 top skills as LinkedIn calls, and they give you the same space as the 4 lines. It really annoys me. So I've played with this a bit. So I haven't just put a skill like Microsoft Word, but instead it can actually be just a, I mean, my Microsoft Word's not bad, don't get me wrong. Okay, I mean, it's okay. But what we can do is actually got free text. So if you want to, you could build up just a little bit more. So I've just been sort of playing a little bit. 3 lines is probably too much, but just playing a little bit. So again, work it to your benefit. Allow, as they see, to be drawn in to all the great stuff that you do. Yeah. Final thing I'll just throw in here is, I don't know about you, but if that's my about section, it's a bit of a struggle because it looks like a block of text. That's the same text, but with white space. They are going to skim read it. If they skim read it and they can pick out the bits that make them of interest, they're going to stick around and read it a bit more. And so give them the chance to skim read it. I'm guessing that if you read this, you would read the first line, you'd read the second line to about here, and then your eyes would go to the bullet points. So we're just trying to guide them through, and if they think, okay, this looks interesting, okay, let's read it properly. So we've got them in, we've hooked them a little bit, and now they hopefully take in the full information, the story that you're providing. So do have a think about how you can do that. As I said, with a bit of white space in there. Paragraphs, I would suggest no longer than 3 lines. If you want to do the little sort of the bullet point stuff, you probably know Windows full stop, yeah? Yeah, if you do Windows full stop, you get that come up. So then you can put all the little things in and you can do your little bullet points and all the good stuff there if you want to. There was a couple of knowing smiles, which means you do know, and a couple of knowing smiles, which means, gosh, I never knew I could do that. It's one of those, well, Mark, he's talked for an hour, but he's talked about emojis, and I'm listening now because it was good. Anyway, I'm not an emoji person, but it does work quite nicely for the bullet points. So what we're trying to do is just get you across. Third and final bit. 4th bit, rather. Let's try that again. Number 4. Featured area. I talked about the featured areas being a bit... It's like a place where you can highlight your stuff. So it's almost like pinning stuff to the top of your profile. If you do not have a featured section, then what you need to do is you need to go to the top of your profile, and there is an Add Profile Section button. And I think on the mobile it says Add Section now. And if you click on that, you'll find there's loads of extra stuff you can put in. This one is under recommended. and then we add the featured section, and it puts essentially a block of text in up there. Someone died, sorry, I do apologise. Okay. So you put a block in there, and what you can do is you can add in either posts that you've made, in which case, you know, you've got to post it, maybe it's an explanation of something or a success you've had or an award you've won. Well, that's something I'd love to have people see at the top of my profile, or a case study. Or you could add a link to an external resource. Anyone got a sort of clean YouTube channel that they run?
I do, Jay. I do, yeah. I think so. I think it's pretty good recently now.
Don't put that in your head.
It's called
What's it called?
Sustainably and Smart Talks. ABLY. Very smart.
Smart?
Yeah, and then talks.
T-O what?
Talks. TALKS.
Oh, sorry. I tell you, I'm getting deafer and deafer and dumber. So, for example, therefore, if I went to your YouTube channel, presuming...
Just 1,000 more to go.
Yeah, it's exponentially growing at the moment. Thank you for the space, guys.
It won't load, but other than that, it's great. Okay, so we'll let it run in the background. I will hopefully come back to that when I see it stop going like that. So we can add those in. So you can add a YouTube one, or if you've got the MP4, or you've got the PDF, or you've got the JPEGs, whatever, you can load these in here, and we essentially have it right at the top of your profile. So it starts to become something which is just that little bit more. Okay, let's stop it and restart it and see if it just does anything. If not, they're just. Okay, we'll come back to it on Wednesday. I'll let it run in the background. But if you take the share code, then you drop it in here, and you add it as a link. Ooh, there we go. Hooray. And you drop it in here. I have no idea what these are. This could be very dodgy. I'll just do this one just in case.
About fish farming in Botswana.
It could well be. One of my specialities, yes. What's your blood type? Okay, so I don't know what that was. And we
Work with just the, was it any URL?
No, it's any URL. So your website link, for example, whatever. So this particular one, there we go. So this was obviously a company I was dealing with.
Did you put your Insta in there as
Yep,
well?
absolutely. And so here, this is how it will now come up. So we now, right at the top of your profile, start to highlight. Well, I click on it, takes you straight through to your YouTube channel, where of course they can see all the other things. But it also allows you to read it. It can go to your Insta. Of course, if it's behind a password or a firewall, then that's more of an issue. So again, you've got to choose what you put up there. Or it goes to your website link to the case study page, or perhaps previous projects page for yourself. It's just a great way to start to push people to the right resources. Yeah.
Can you show me how to get to that again?
Sure. If you go to the top of your profile, then there should be an Add Profile section button on your profile page. It is under the recommended heading.
I haven't got that.
You never recommended it.
Oh, right.
And then Add Featured.
I couldn't see it first of all when I looked.
Add Featured.
Yeah.
And that will give you the block then, and then you should have the plus sign in the top right-hand corner. And I'm afraid you're still churning, so I apologise.
Go to YouTube. So go to YouTube
Well-
directly.
I'll do it. Tell you what, I'll do it later. Oh, no, just stopped it. Which one would you like? Just very quickly, that one. There we go. So if I take the share code, copy the share code,
Right.
back to this one, add. It's an external link as opposed to the media. If I had the MP4, we could do that. Bang that in there and add it. LinkedIn.
You can actually add the video.
You can add the video, but under so you can add that directly in. I forget what the size limit is, and a bit of scaremongering, yeah. There we go. So now, on the top of the profile, there we go. So we now have the different elements that you can play with there. And it's just a nice way to add colour, but also add direction to what it is that you want people to see. And I think it adds something to quite nicely there. Yeah. I'll try to remember to take that off before the next session I run, and the blood one maybe. Mark seems to be getting into all sorts of weird stuff nowadays. Robots and blood, yeah. Anyway, so you can put all sorts of things up here, but reports you've written, this particular one, this was a PDF. Here was an event, they actually dropped the video straight in there, in which case fine, that can display there. And this one is a multi-image one, so again, it's off one of their posts. So it's a case of what's going to show you off to best light, really. The sorts of things that could be of value to you. Yeah, so top 3 bits we've got here, the introduction card, the about section, and the featured, for me are going to be the key ones here. As I said, work it to your benefit. If you want to do a custom URL so that your page name is specific to you, not all the numbers and letters, then you can do that. That's great. Some of you have got a services section in there. Again, depends on your organisation, but that's another block that you can put in to play with. And again, that sits this time under the Open To. And you'll find under the Open To button, there's searching for new job and candidates. There's a 4th one, however, which because I've got it in here, it doesn't show, but you can add services. So again, if there's specific ones that are relevant to you, that won't be for all of you, I'm afraid, because there's certain categories, then you could put that in there as an additional one. Recommendations further down your profile. Some of you have put awards in there that you've won. You've got patents that you've done. All the good stuff in there if you wish. It goes down the bottom of your profile, not often seen, but hey, if you got it, let's have it in there. You know, if people are exploring properly, then that'd be brilliant. And that is all, again, profile section, this time additional. There's your patents, there's your publications, honours and awards, test scores if you're into cricket, language, that was a joke, etc., etc., etc. So again, you can build it up in whatever way you want. That okay? Sorry, lots of stuff on your profile, but it's sort of right at the core of what you do, if you like. Okay. I'll leave questions, if I may, until you've got a sandwich in front of you. Although that could be dangerous, but we'll work on it anyway. Okay. Next chunk I'd like to get just into. Sorry to keep... Profile, great. You're dressed to go into the room. Now we want to find the people you want to talk to. And actually, there's a load of ways we can play with this on LinkedIn. We've already had a look at one, which is where you're listening for the conversations. But what we can also do is go and talk very specifically to the individuals that you may have an interest in. The first bit I will encourage you all to do is to continue to build your networks. I have no idea how big your networks are. And some of you will want to build them with very specific people you're talking to. Others, perhaps you want to spread it as wide as possible, but within the right areas. Do continue. We want to be able to tap into these networks. So what you could do just occasionally is have a look through who you're emailing. Are you connected to everyone that you are already in communication with via other methods? And if you're not, ask them to connect, because I want them to be able to see your posts. I want you to be able to tap into their networks, because you could get referrals from them, the little blue dots we had in the big room. And they'd want it, sort of. But we need to have them connected to us. Equally, going to events, I imagine you get yourself out there. Use that not just to get business cards, not to follow up by email, but also to connect on LinkedIn. Do you use the QR code at all? Yeah? Yes. Okay, fab. For those of you who don't, on the mobile app, and I have no idea why this has gone all dark on me, but there we go. Am I in dark mode? No, we're good. I know this isn't very visible, so I do apologise. But if you go to the search box at the top and you click into the search box, on the right-hand side, there's a funny little symbol. If you press on that, it is your... No, there's just, if you press into the search...
Oh, there, that.
It's your own personal QR code. So if you're talking to someone and you've perhaps exchanged business cards, have you got yours up? So theoretically, if I sort of have a look at that, there we go. So that immediately takes me through to your profile, at which point, because we're talking, I don't need to put a message in because we've done that intro. So, well, you've got yours on follow, so immediately you've put a blocker there. But we'll go connect, there we go. So I can now ask you to connect, and if we've got that, then we start another channel for communication. Or perhaps a number of you have done talks, in which case, brilliant, maybe you could put that up there. So actually people can ask you to connect on the basis of your QR code, and you just start to build the conversations and the relationships. It's quite a nice way to do it. A couple of you have got your follow button as your lead, however, which makes it a little bit more difficult. It just means that you want to make sure you check who is following you, which is a one-way, rather than connecting to you, which is a two-way.
How do you change that?
It's deep in the settings. Do you want to change it? Yeah. Okay. If there's, you might like to check. There were a couple of you who had this. If you go to your settings and privacy, and if you go into visibility, right down the bottom, you've got followers. And here, what a couple of you have got is, he says, if it's going to open up, there we go. You've made follow primary, or LinkedIn has done it. And I would suggest you probably want connection, unless some of you have got upwards of sort of 10, 15, 20,000 connections, in which case the follow is quite a good one because it allows you to broadcast a little bit more. For most of us, we want to talk to them generally. So it'd be make follow primary as off. Yeah, that good? And that now changes to, it makes it just a little bit easier. I think off is better, unless you're looking to put it out there. If you've got colleagues or people here, let's be honest, connect with them as well. Unless you don't want to, just people you've done business with, in which case I'm with you all the way, by the way, so all with that. The other one I'll just throw in here is that there are people out there who have connections with loads and loads of the right sort of people for you. So who do you want to connect to? What sort of people do you want to talk to?
People have a wide network. Wide network of people in business.
Okay.
Managers, senior.
Okay, so perhaps, for example, the IOD, so the Institute directors have got loads of, obviously, directors. Yeah. So one thing you could do is connect to the people who run the membership of the IOD, because who are they talking to all day? Directors. And if you're interested in marketeers, then have a look at the CIM, so China Institute Marketing. Who are they talking? And because they're talking to marketeers all day. So think of these centres of influence, if you like, of who would have a network full of the sorts of people you have an interest in. Are there town planners? Institute of, I don't know. But if there are organisations like that, then these are really good people actually to connect to, because it puts you within one sort of target, one I suppose leap of the people you're interested in. So professional bodies are quite good. Equally, people who run conferences aimed at your target audience, they're really good. And the other one is magazines or publications aimed at your target audience, and have a look at some of the people who write the articles. Now, by the way, you may be centres of influence for others out there. But if not, those are good people, because again, it just gets your message. If you're connected, they see your post and they press like or comment, they're pushing it out to people you want to reach. So we'll have some of that. Thank you. Yeah, so continue to develop your network. We can then start to tap into it. And as you just kindly shared there, who do you want to talk to? Well, you've got certain sort of characteristics that we're looking for. Not all characteristics LinkedIn can sort of deal with. But what it can do is job title, location, industry, and a number of other groupings. And it's just a case of how can we work that to our benefit. When we do, we can actually go onto LinkedIn and we can start to leverage not only the system, but also your network. And very much like we did last time, what I encourage people to do is click into the search box, press enter. We go behind the search box and we have the 10 different elements underneath. There we go. And instead of posts, which is what we did last time, this time we're going to look for people. So we're going into this big room now, so we want to find the right sorts of people for you. I don't know, not all of these going to be relevant, but for yourself, perhaps?
Okay.
Who would you like to talk to?
I would like to talk to people who'd be happy to, probably aggregates companies or something like that, who'd like to sponsor the building of a beach in Loughborough.
God, that was a good choice, wasn't it?
I love the fact you thought you picked an unusual one here. I do sand sculpting workshops.
Okay.
I do sand sculpting workshops.
Anyone want to talk to sort of, I don't know, marketing directors or anyone like that?
Event organisers,
I'm joking.
etc. I've just done something for Great Ormond Street, and it was their events marketing team that came up and found me. So
I'm going to come back to the aggregates one, if I may. But can I take you up on your offer of the events?
yes, yes.
Thank you. Aggregates. I'm not good on aggregates.
So there's two sets of people I want.
The people, obviously, who've got the stuff that you can use, and then...
who want something unusual to happen at their event or their conference or whatever, because you sand sculpt for them. And then I want people to help me develop a space in Loughborough for longer term. But
Okay.
Let's start with...
Can I go with the easier one just for this one? So, thank you for the starters. We're on a people search. You may notice again the filters that we looked at for the posts are now changed. So we have ones that are specific to the searching for people. And again, if I go to all filters, then we have, first of all, connection level. So if I wanted to see everyone that I'm connected to, then I could just click on the first degree connections and it'll show me only people that I'm connected to. And then I can add other filters in. The second degree, again, you're familiar with 1, 2 and 3 on LinkedIn? Yeah, most of you? Lovely. So second degree are friends of friends. So connections are connections, people you're connected to. Second degree are connections of your connections, friends of friends. These, of course, are people you can be introduced to. So these are nice ones as well that we can sort of work. Third degree are connections of those second degree, where you have no closer relationship. So 1, 2, 3. And then we have everyone else, which of course is the vast majority of people. Here, we could do this. This one is a premium filter, so you won't have that. But after that, we have where they're based, locations. And we can do countries. We can also do towns and cities. We can do where they work. We can do who they're connected to. So we can tap into just people that we're their connections. That Rolodex that we were sort of rummaging through earlier. We can also look for where people used to work. We can look for where they studied. So if we wanted to tap into, let's face it, Loughborough, and actually have a look at the alumni that from Loughborough Uni, then we could do that. Industry, so we can come back to the aggregates at that point and we can have a play with that. And then right down the bottom here, we have keywords, but we have the title field. The title field is current job title. So, very quick run through, and I know it's on the screen anyway, so I hope you'll forgive me for that. If we now start with what you just kindly explained for yourself, which is events, then I could say events manager, for example. And I could say, show me anyone on LinkedIn who is an events manager. So, events and marketing, events.
7 billion people for you.
It's difficult to know because LinkedIn's taken off the number now, which is really unhelpful. I just know there's more than 1,000. 10 pages of 100 pages of 10. So we know they're out there. However, something that I hope you'll be all able to apply to your own search. If I just put events manager in here, LinkedIn will look for any current job title which includes the word events and includes the word manager. So if you're looking for operations directors, it's operations director, it'll look for any words that, but it could be operations and something manager. If I just want events manager, then I put it in inverted commas.
Single.
Double.
Double, okay.
Double. And it will now only look for people who have events manager as part of their job title. So events and conferences manager, no. Each one that you might look for, no. I'm sure that's nice and easy.
These sorts
Oh, sorry.
features, like, because obviously with LinkedIn Premium and Sales Nav, like, these are a lot of those features.
Wow, big question.
I feel like I've got a
Well,
sales now, but I just don't get any of the capacity for it.
with Sales Nav, a lot of people think to do what we're about to do here that you have to go to Sales Navigator. You don't. You can do it on the free one. Sales Navigator's really good, but it takes it way beyond that in terms of the buyer intent and filtering. But the actual finding relevant people, you can do most of this without paying LinkedIn a penny. So there's lots of other filters there and lots of things it does beyond it. But if actually you think you're buying it for this, then you don't need to. And a lot of people do, by the way, hence I guess the question.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know any of these features really existed on the standard version.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to do it for broadening your network, or
then I'm afraid,
for outreach,
then you could save your 70 quid a month, I would suggest.
It's more now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, actually it is.
£95.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Gosh.
£95 a month for premium.
Well, it depends which one. I can get you a premium for 600 a month if you want. That's the recruiter one.
Very nice of you.
Yeah, no, there's no.
Awfully decent of you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. There's lots of different levels.
You can't
So,
filter lists and stuff though through the premium.
say again.
With the Sales Nav and Premium, you can obviously make your own lists and stuff, which you can't see with the
You can't. There are some ways to, if you can avoid LinkedIn's police, that you can scrape this data if you wish. I can show you a couple of tools that will do it for less than 95 a month. But it's been recorded.
Impossible. Can't show it.
We'll take that out.
Just don't show it to LinkedIn. I'm in their bad books, right? Anyway, just to come back, and hopefully I'll give you some other bits here. Is it only events managers?
No, conference organisers.
Okay, we'll stop at that one. So, how about, well, let's keep with events. Events organiser.
Team building people, so HR teams who are trying to do team building events, that kind of thing.
Okay, so if we start with another one, events organiser might be the job title. If I put events manager in, LinkedIn doesn't say, so you mean events organiser or events planners, don't you, or conference organiser. We'll put all of those in. No. They say, you said events manager.
Digital, is it?
It is very much digital, and very much in that way, actually. Yes, thank you for that. We have to force feed it. So therefore here, events organiser will now build in a whole new set of people. Events organiser, events manager, conference and events manager. In other words, LinkedIn is responding to our search. So what we can do is we can do Boolean mean anything? Some of you it will. So we can use and, or, and not. So rather than having to do each individual search, we can do a single search with multiple things built in there. And I would suggest that not only do we want events manager or events organizer, it could be head of events. So we want to put that one in. Or is it events planner? Or is it event planner? Or is it conference organizer? In other words, we could do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I'll just put one more in. Or head of events. So if I run that in then, therefore we're going to have, I don't know if we'll have any on the home page, commercial events manager, marketing management, events, etc., etc. So we start to build up a set of searches here. If I just copy that out, I'm just going to put this into, he says, there we go. Bloop. So this is what we're doing. We've done one, or, one, or, one. The or, as you probably will have gathered, needs to be in capital letters so that it treats it as this or this or this. If you don't put it in capital letters, it will treat it as you're looking for the word or.
Does that stand for and?
It is. And the word not. Those are the three that we have access to. So we can start to build up a single search for what you are looking for. Comfortable? I've got a cheat sheet on this one, by the way, if that's any help to, if people do want it. But you're comfortable with, 1, 1, 1? All good? Yeah. Okay. So I'll do it here rather than online. There are people who are event planners rather than events. LinkedIn, I'm afraid, treats them as two different things. So what I could say is event or events. You talked about conferences, didn't you?
Yeah.
So let's put conference. But I would also like them to be either a manager or an organiser or perhaps a head of.
Or an assistant, because they have to do the research.
Or an assistant.
I'm looking for my results here. I'm doing some work.
So what we're now going to do is we're just going to build this up. We have a slight issue insofar as LinkedIn reads it left to right. So therefore it will say, okay, so you want the word event, or you want the word events, or you want conference and manager. So it reads it wrong. Anyone remember BIDMAS or BODMAS from school? State of education today. I believe in algebra it was telling you should do brackets first, that's the B, and then indices and then division, multiplication. Anyway, that was just really did. So if I put brackets around it, then how could you say such things? So if we put brackets around it, then LinkedIn essentially says, I want one from this lot, and I want one from this lot, but you can mix it up whichever way you want.
Please, can I definitely have a proof sheet on this?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you.
So this allows us, rather than to do it one by one by one by one by one, if I do this, it will do any combination of the head of events or head of conference or assistant, etc., etc. And if I plonk that into our search and then run it, you will now have event manager. And you see there's quite a lot of event managers. They go freelance events and marketing manager, technical events manager, event manager, head of events, Excel hospitality, etc., etc., etc. So we get all of these things together, and I would suggest that all of you would have, whether it's, I don't know, marketing managers or HR or it's technical or whatever it is that you want, that you can actually start to create a list of people that are going to be relevant to you. Yeah? Would that make sense a little bit? What we then, of course, want is we've got way too many people. So you just want them, do you just want them in Loughborough?
No, I'd quite like them within about an hour's drive. So East Midlands?
No, can't do that. So we'll do Loughborough.
By county?
No, we can't. I'm afraid we also can't do it by county. At this level of account, you can on Navigator. Okay. So what we would have to do is we'd have to build it up. So if I may, I'm going to say if we...
Loughborough, Leicester, Nottingham.
Okay, just slowly. We're going to do Luga Baruga, as they told me down in Victoria Coach Station once. We're going to do Leicester, which they tell me anywhere I go. There we go. Nottingham. So there we go. So Nottingham, Maryland. No, we're going to do Greater Nottingham, as opposed to Lesser Nottingham. But if I now do that, so now we have a list of people, still over 1,000 names, who are the events manager, head of events, etc., and who are based within those key areas that you've just talked about. We could then, if you wish, break it down by perhaps the industry they're in. So if you wanted to, you could work it. So just hospitality, maybe that's something you would play with, in which case now we're down nearer to 140 in that particular area. So it's a case of you layering in differing things that you may care to put in. However, what I would suggest for all of you... Oh, sorry, please.
I was just going to ask, so if you, in this, then can you pull it down as a CSV file then? Or, but in premium you can? No.
Not even in premium.
Okay.
We have to go outside and be naughty. We have to be naughty.
Is that on the cheat sheet, the naughty?
It can be if you wish it to be. It's not normally something I associate, but if you wish to note down something, one bizarre one called Duck Soup, DUX Soup, because that's quite a cheap one just for a download, and one called Phantom Buster, which is with a PH. And those are two quite old ones which are data scrapers, essentially, which will take a list that you've created in LinkedIn like this, or a search result, and it will pull it out. Sir.
Do they still work? Because I know that LinkedIn are always working on the privacy policy.
Those two do at the moment, yeah.
Because I know there's like, you know, fresh new, like, because of other activities, that some ways of scraping have been
They have.
fixed.
They're reduced is a beautiful way to put it, and they seem to be finding new ways. I don't know how. I mean, you could just copy and paste them into a spreadsheet, but it takes an age. They seem to be getting around them, much to my dislike. So
They must allow some, just to keep, I don't think. So why aren't they blocking DuckSoup then?
because they can't. Because here I have a set of results, and all if it's doing is just reading the text and then essentially reformatting it. It's really difficult. As soon as you start to delve behind and start to try and pull emails out for these people, which are some of them, and then automate the systems, then they can see the sequences and they can start to block those. But it used to be Chrome extensions, which apparently were visible. Sorry, beyond me, I don't know. Now they tell me it's in the cloud, and that they're now having to find, as you say, different ways to identify and stop it.
Because I was trying to get my friends to build a scraper for me, and they're quite knowledgeable in that space, and they just said they couldn't do it.
Okay. The other ones are still working at the moment, so but caution, please, with all of these. LinkedIn isn't a happy bunny about this stuff. Two more. Yeah, just 1 minute, and then we'll just tidy this up. So what I'm trying to do here is just play a little bit with the things to play with. The thing that I would then encourage you, again, comfortable more or less with the way we've built the search? Yeah? Please build your networking over the top here. So, for example, you've just given me a load of things. Do I know anyone who fits that criteria? In which case, not many, but you may well. Actually, can I be introduced to any? Well, yeah, now I've got 80 people who I'm second degree connections to, and underneath their names are the people that we both know. So that's quite nice. If you've worked for some companies before and done that work, then maybe you could say, well, actually show me anyone who used to work at an organisation that you've done work for, but has now moved into a new position, so we can leverage that. Or maybe because everyone loves everyone who's ever studied at Loughborough Uni, maybe we just look at the people who studied at Loughborough University who fit that, and we've now got at least 20 people that we have a start point with that we can then leverage the student network type tapping into. So we're starting just to find good ways to leverage what you already have around you to try and identify the people that you could at least approach in the warmest possible way. Yeah? And we'll look for someone who can give you aggregates in a session, but after lunch. Yeah?
It's all right, I know where they're up Barden Hill. I'll find them. They're digging it up.
Why do you need LinkedIn then?
I don't have one.
Brilliant. Okay, so over to your good self.
Thank you very much, Mark. This has been insightful.
Yeah.
We're going to have a walking lunch because there's so much to uncover. How many of you feel like you've had a lot?
Yeah.
But a good lot.
But a good lot. I didn't believe I didn't know the things he's talking about. So like, that's two. Oh, no, wait. And it's been great. Let's have lunch. Here's what I need us to do. Can we get it in 6 minutes? Yes. So we're walking out, grabbing lunch, and coming back here. And you can.
Is he always like this?
Is
he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's just do this. Get out, get lunch, come in. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who would have thought it's possible to have lunch in 6 minutes?
Not Mark. He's going to kill over it from the start.
It's not possible. I get it, but we're making it happen today. So thank you for indulging us today. We will have a walking lunch now. Go back to our last lap of the session. Can I just do a quick survey? How many of you feel you've been seated for 2 hours?
No.
Exactly. It feels like we're just starting, and that's good. But like I said, this is the first time we're going 3 hours long for our session. We always do this in 1 hour, and we're done. Bang, 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 and we're done. but this time we're going 3 hours and it doesn't even feel like that.
No.
Right, so we'll have a final lap of another 50 minutes and we'll end at 2. Cool?
Yep.
Get started? Excellent. Once you're done with your meals, you can leave them on the table, okay? I'll go around, I'll pass the bag around and we'll just put our stuffs in it when we're done. Is that okay? Great. And if you ever need to pick up coffee, water, juice, you're fine to pick. I think what it is.
I think the gin is just on the box at the bottom. As I recall.
That's fine.
Ah, you brought yours with you. Well, that's why I have China cups when I'm doing Zoom calls. They think coffee or tea. Do you see? All organised. Okay, thank you. Thank you, and apologies for, sort of almost interrupting with your lunch, but there we go. We're playing a little bit ahead of sort of popping out for lunch with some searches. Clearly, each of the searches, the one we've just done here is very specific to one part of what you are interested in, and that's likely to apply to all of you. That actually you are looking for lots of different types of people. I hope at least that that's given you a framework that we can sort of work to and identify them without, as you say, going to some of the higher upgrades. Clearly there are other aspects to it, as you've so rightly said, so the scraping or the finding a way to create a list. I'm afraid I'm going to leave that in many respects to yourselves. What I will do, however, is just an overview, which together with the video, I hope will sort of give you a reminder of how to build these things up if you wish. If not, do ask. I have got a couple of others that I just run through bits and pieces there, so that might be another way to do it if you wish. The bit that I hope you've sort of taken away is that we have this essentially big database of 1.1 billion people. And that people are updating themselves, or not, but one hopes updating because of their own reasons. Therefore, we are tapping into other people's desire to keep this updated, which makes it really, well, one of the best ones that are out there, in my opinion. Though we are still reliant. We also have only certain ones we can play with, but I think there's enough to work with. What I hope that you will do, however, is play a little bit with A, the location, B, the job titles, but also have a little play with the industries, which may help. Again, just define it down. If you have other things that you want to sort of, filter into this, they have one final thing that we can use, which is the search box that I sort of have studiously ignored all the way through. If you put keywords in now, it will still apply it to the set of results here. So if I put something in there, I don't know what it might be, specials, there we go. So perhaps they've stated on their profile that they organise special events or special sort of elements of it, then that would at least tap into that. That's the only additional one I can throw your way, I'm afraid. So there are clearly limitations. So have a play. I will remind you though, just as I did with the post search, that we have a very long URL now up here because it's built in all of the stuff that we've put in here. Therefore, again, bookmarking that will take you straight back to the search that you've done. So creating it once, bookmark it, you go straight back to it the next time. And so it does a bit of a time saver. If you are looking for something which is very geographic in nature, just as a suggestion, if I sort of quickly just do this, and we do the blank search, there we go on the search again, we go to people, and you were kindly shouting out towns at me. So, no, not at all, no. But Loughborough, Nottingham, Greater Nottingham, Derby, just in case anyone feels left out on that one, Derby, Greater Derby area, well. And clearly we have to put Leicester in because everyone seems to be from Leicester, and rightly so. My point here is that if I just do that search, then we are searching purely on 4 geographic areas. If you spent another 5 minutes, either with just your own brain, or let's be honest, Google Maps, then we could add in a few more, at which point bookmark it. I personally call this a geo search, but it's just a word, so you put that in, and then it could be East Midlands. So now, I've now got almost like a templated start point, where if I want to, because I know I'm always going to be searching in the East Midlands, then I do that, I click on that, it will rerun it, and it will only have the location ones we've sat in, and then I can just superimpose all the rest on top, if you like. For those who've been quick enough to look, you may notice what I've got here is an awful lot of different ones that I play with. So I sort of try to not exactly practice what I preach, but here is me. The comments one is for me, these are posts that I'm interested in, or people that we did at the start. So I've got groups there. So Sales Navigator, we talked about that. That's one of LinkedIn's premium ones. I listen to a lot of people who talk about Sales Navigator in case I miss anything. So I want to hear about them. So I've got that one in there. But then we've got geo searches for Norwich. I've got ICP, so the ideal customer profiles. So just put them together and then you just dip in as, when and however you wish. So please.
Why do you use these features on the free version and not doing this in Sales Nav or the premium features?
Because I'm talking to people who may not have Sales Nav.
As in, like, you personally,
Oh, me?
yeah,
Oh, I see.
Personally, do you use these features as you're presenting them to us, or do you use them on Sales Nav?
Fair question. With the ICP stuff, so if I'm looking for people, Sales Navigator gives me more. So I do tend to do my personal stuff on there. However, the commenting where we're listening to posts, Sales Navigator doesn't do that as well, because actually it can only focus in on people. So I use them here to do the listening, and the geo search, that's for demonstration purposes more than anything. So you're right, I would do it there. And you also have a saved search in Sales Navigator, which is defined for that. So it's a purpose driven. You lose everything, yeah. Yeah. So.
I haven't done this sort of like outreach in a while, but the last time I did it, you can only have access to the first 5 pages.
No. That should not be the case. So I'm not sure how that came up. You should have access. There is a limit, but the limit on the search is 1,000. So you should have access to the first 100 pages on even on the free account.
Even on the free account.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why it happened, if that was what you had. But no, there shouldn't be an issue in that respect. There is a limit, but it limits it usually at 1,000 results.
Yeah, because it was only allowing me access to the first 5 pages, and then goes, right, you have to upgrade to premium.
Shouldn't do. I will check it.
Could you check on this now, just to see if you
can
click through just page 6?
So that one, it should go down 100 here. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I will check in case they've got some other aspect in it. So I'll check that for you. I'll make a note.
Yeah, and this is a premium account, right?
This one is, but I've got another one which is I also run it on which is a free one. So
I'll try it on my own.
Have a check then. I'll check on my other ones as well. I don't think I've got it logged in here. No, so I'm going to struggle. Okay, let me check that with you. Okay. So coming back to what we've been looking at, there we go. So the searches. These are the ones that we've just sort of played with, the people. I used to call it a targeting search. You can also target companies if you wish. So if you're looking for certain types of organisations, before you get to the people side of things, then again, if I just take it back to 0 again. Okay, not going to do it for me. Bang, bang, bang. Then I can, do it this way. Instead of people, I can search for companies. So again, we're all in the browser. Okay, let me try. Ooh, doesn't like something now. Okay. What was it there? Okay. Okay, we're back to there. It's done that one. We can do tell you what, let's take it all the way back down. There we go. Try one more time. We can search for companies as well if you want to. Different sets of filters there. We've got geographic, we've got industry. We've also got size of organisation. So in those cases, we have, again, the same opportunity to play a little bit. But we have to do so with, gosh, either very slow today. There we go, companies. So if you wanted to find organisations, you can do that as well. And again, we can take it down to just show me organisations within the Loughborough area, for example. There we go. If you wonder why we've got Austin right at the top, it is because it's anyone who has an office which is designated on LinkedIn as in this area. So you'll have a number of things along those lines as well. So we can play a little bit, company size, etc. If you ever did want this, by the way, one filter just to check out, if you go to all filters, is only show me companies which fit these criteria where I know someone. So you can immediately narrow it down to ones where you've got an in, which is always a useful bit. So a number of things that we've played with there. Essentially, the fact that we can search through people, and we can use this Boolean search. As I said, that's coming your way. But we have to already know, of course, who we're after. And we have to then sort of translate that into LinkedIn's terms. So again, just play it along those lines. And here's a reminder that we can build up a list of the common searches by using the bookmark feature. Yeah, can't do it on the mobile, I'm afraid, because of course it's in the app. So that's more of an issue. Haven't found a way around that one. Always open if someone, or if you've got a friend who can build something like that. There are loads of other searches. The groups that you kindly mentioned, we can search through their discussion forums on LinkedIn. The trouble is, as you said, they've gone downhill loads. So they're quite nice to sort of categorise and segment people, but the numbers which are active and good, I'm afraid, are not high. Is it worth still checking out? It is, I would suggest. In which case you would go to groups, and then essentially up here, there we go. What did we do before traffic? No, what did we do?
We did highway technology.
Highway technology. So if you wanted to, there are indeed groups which have the word highway and technology built in. If I put inverted commas, it would only give me that phrase, which may get rid of a lot of these, I'm afraid. But again, these are then groups of people chatting about stuff. And you may find that actually joining those groups and joining some of the conversations there could be good. The trouble is they are a lot more spam ones now because LinkedIn took a load of the features away. Sorry. The other one I quite like, which I'll just leave with you because it's still developing, but it's getting there, is we can do the search for events. So LinkedIn has given us a feature where we can actually promote our events on LinkedIn. And there's a number of events on there. If we went for, let's do events on the events. See if we come up with anything. Reuters events, data-driven oil and gas USA. Whew, sounds like a blast. That was probably a wrong name, actually, so take that back. Global energy transition. Let's just take that as an example. Here, if I think that a lot of the people I'd like to talk to are going to go to this event, then clicking into that, and hopefully LinkedIn is going to, oh dear, what is playing up today? Wow. Okay. Either LinkedIn is getting very annoyed with me or the system is very slow. I'm going to open it up in a new tab, see if it'll do it for me. So when I go to this event, it should, or it will hopefully show me the event. Oh, it's very slow. See what I'm going to do, just in case it's the browser rather than LinkedIn. Let's see if we can just do this while we're playing. The fact is, it will show me the event, it will show the advertising around it, and then it will show me how many people are attending, which is about 213, I think, was the aim here. Let's see if I can get this any quicker. Oh dear me. See, I need my tech support, but he's on study leave at the moment, as in my son. Oh no, here we go, finally, okay. Basically, we've got 314 people who say they're going along, but LinkedIn won't allow me to see who they are. However, if I say to LinkedIn, I'm going to attend this event, LinkedIn says, well, if you're attending, then we will show you who is actually going along to this event. So it will now open up the delegate list. So if I then click into the delegate list, if it's going to play ball today, which it seems not to want to do. Anyway, this will now take me through to a people search, only showing me the 315 people who've said that they're interested in this event, that you can then filter down by location, by industry, by keywords, etc., etc.
And then you hope that some of them actually will turn up at the event rather than just doing what you've done.
No, I don't want to. I'm not going to the bloody event.
No, but this is what I mean. All of them might have clicked on to find out who was going.
Well, possibly, but probably because they want to go to the... Anyway, you're right, of course. We could have played it, but hopefully we'll find people who do actually want to go or are interested in the topic. We now have access to those names, if nothing else. So it's... sorry, we followed that in between the sort of slightly slow browser refresh. But it gives you the chance to do exactly that. So have a play with that as well if you want to.
How did you find the event? Sorry.
Again, if you go into just the search, and then we do the blank search, it's one of the buttons that goes along there. So you just choose the events one and then put the keyword in to play a little bit with it. Let me keep that for now. Okay, so fingers crossed that we can do the last bit still. Clearly what this has done is allows us to tap in. We've found lots of different ways to subdivide this big room, and hopefully we've got ones that we can tap into. The final one that I'll throw in is the one we actually did right at the start, which is we can look for posts. So we can start to listen to topics and conversations that are going on. And if you recall on that one, we then had these filters to play with. We could also look for keywords, and we could also then, if you wish to, filter down by a group of people, or people who work for a certain company, or people in a certain industry. And that was the one where I gave you the example of me sort of playing about in Norwich, as it were, listening to the group of people there. In all of these ways, we are essentially going in and finding the people we want to talk to. Lots of different ways, I hope you'll agree. And you will have some which will work way better for you than others. It's really a case of have a play. Yeah, see who's in there. Once you've found them, of course, that's when the real problems start. And not necessarily a problem that I can overcome for you. But what I will say is that we've got now a list of however many people. How do we make them notice us? Well, one way that I really like, of course, is to comment on their posts. So actually finding people, if you're on someone's individual account, for example, so if we take Dale as an example, since he was at the top of my screen here, if I go down on Dale's account here, then I can go down to his activity and show all posts. And here is a list of the posts. So if I found an individual, if I wanted to, what better way than to go in there and, hi Dale, sounds like a brilliant event. Well done you. I wish my son had been at your event. He runs stuff for sixth formers on scholarships and internships and stuff. But whatever topic it is, go in. The only thing I'll ask you not to do is leave a great post, because that really doesn't sort of help your cause too much. But it doesn't have to be massively insightful. In this instance, hi Dale, sounds like a brilliant event. I'm sure they got a lot out of it. I haven't really said much, but I have supported him. He gets a notification with my face on it, and he'll remember me. And he's looking for engagement, so I have no doubt he will like my comment. Which means we, of course, are now, in LinkedIn's terms, in a sort of dialogue, which means when I post, which is what we're going to come on to as the final section, LinkedIn is much more likely to show it to people with whom I'm having a dialogue. So he is now much more likely to see my stuff as well. And that actually counts as a number of ways, like the QR code I showed you earlier. You're connecting with someone at an event. If you then post at that event, LinkedIn is likely to show your posts to the most recent connections. If you connect with someone, I'd be fairly certain if they post halfway regularly, you will see something they've posted at the top of your homepage, or something from 3 weeks ago. Depends how it's feeling. Equally, if you start to direct message someone, you will be surprised how often one of their posts appears at the top of your feed. Why? Because LinkedIn is trying to tap into exactly that. So you can, to an extent, start to maneuver the conversation into the areas that you want. Yeah? So one way we could do is exactly that. We could start to engage with their posts. And actually, for me, it's one of the best ways. A little bit more time consuming, but actually an awful lot more sort of successful than simply sort of hi, or just hand you a business card. Yeah? Because ultimately, that's what we've got as an option. If I've found a list of people here, back to the search results we've got. I've got here Sophie, Chelsea, let's do Chelsea, picture there. Okay, so on we go. We go to Chelsea's profile. I've got a big connect button. I do have a premium account, which means I am able to send a note. LinkedIn, after 21 years, decided to take away that on the free one, and they give you only $5 a month, which is really, really unhelpful. I don't like it, simply because I feel in a big room, if I walk up to you and I hand you my business card, and I walk off again, and you're thinking, what's all that about? Yeah. Well, that's like me sending you an invite to connect and not telling you anything. A lot of people will suggest it's the best way to go. I prefer not. I personally think, look, couldn't help but notice that you were chatting with Joe over there. Joe and I go way back, I have to say. Yeah, so I just thought I'd come over and introduce myself. In other words, we would find a real... Sorry, I'm not supposed to. But I'd find a real one, something we've got in common. I couldn't help but notice. We've got a colleague who used to work there. Did you know da-da-da-da? So I'm just trying to break the ice in a way that A, doesn't come across as false, but equally is not, hi, you look like you could do with some LinkedIn training. I saw you from over there. I thought, she needs some LinkedIn training. Now, luckily, I got my brochure with me. Shh, don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt. I'm just going to take you through the brochure, and you'll love it. You'll love it. You will. Yeah, gone.
Yeah.
Security?
Yeah.
Or where's the gin? I think it's under the table. We were talking about that earlier. We don't have success with that because people don't like being sold to. You did not go to that event for me to sell to you. You went to, well, for whatever reason. But if we talk, the likelihood is, and if I listen to what you're telling me, I couldn't help but notice your events. I mean, events, you know, my background isn't, but actually, you know, I've got a load of contacts. So what sort of events do you do? So I ask about you. I'm showing interest. You're going to tell me. At which point I might then be able to either think, okay, wrong person, or we can actually start to work it and you will then, so what do you do? So they're now asking. So we're now in a position to allow them to say, well, actually, might be someone I'd like to buy from, rather than me coming across as someone who's just out to sell. And you will find this time and time again on LinkedIn. Would you like to connect? Yeah. 30 seconds later, what I believe they call a pitch slap, which is basically there's a sales spiel, boom. And I seem to have attracted one or two of late because not only have they done that, I've then ignored them. Felix. Hi, Mark. Comments boost visibility. That's why we built this on a beta test. Check it out. P.S. We've launched it in Germany. So if you don't speak German, we've got an English one there. Hi, Mark. Quick reminder, because we'd like, are you generally skeptical about first messages? What, like this one, you mean? Yeah, actually, fairly skeptical. The one I particularly liked, actually, was an insurance bloke. He was down here somewhere. You had him?
And I've got these guys guys trying to sell me whiskey barrels.
Whiskey barrels.
Seriously, whiskey barrels.
I appear to.
Whiskey barrels.
I think I've lost my insurance bloke. He was down there somewhere. Anyway, he had his 3 sequence, and the second one basically asked me, "Are you thinking about saving for your retirement?" And I thought, cheeky bugger. He's gone. He's got an orange background somewhere, or maybe he's decided to distract. Anyway, the fact is that it just doesn't tend to work too well. Sorry.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about the whole relationship side of things? What I've noticed, and it might just be something that I'm missing, when you know somebody, you've connected and you've chatted, and they then invite you to an event that they're hosting.
Oh yeah.
There doesn't seem to be a way to decline it. It's either accept or ignore. And that word just offends me, because then they are going to think I've just ignored them if I can't go for whatever reason. Am I missing something? Is there a way to politely decline the event with an
Yeah, you press ignore.
Oh, I don't like it.
They won't know.
No, I know, but I'd rather they knew that I couldn't come, and I'm not going to remember.
Well, write to them then.
Yeah.
Hi, I can't come,
Yeah.
so I'm going to ignore. No, the ignore, essentially, they won't be told, so it is just a polite decline, so don't worry.
Polite decline.
Only because of the word ignore.
Yeah. Just the fact that they don't.
Would you prefer I hate you?
Yeah.
Hi. Except I hate you. No?
Yeah.
No, I'm afraid it is simply yay or nay, and they won't know. They won't be told. So don't worry too much. Seriously, but no, there isn't, I'm afraid. But you could message them back if you wanted to. I can't find my my account. Oh no, there is. There we go. Matthew, bless him. Okay, just thanks for connecting. I work for a pension specialist. Bang! No messing about here. Free. Yeah, there we go. Anna put there. Hi Mark, just follow up. Initial, no cost, no pressure. By the way, explore overseas retirement options. Love him. I appreciate that. You're being interested in pensions. You can check them. So he's relentless. As in, it's not even a how. Where are you based? Do you have pensions? Could we help in any way? Well, no, that's fairly obvious, to be honest. I mean, I'm a 25-year-old with grey and very little hair left. Take care. Okay.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye. Don't buy the whiskey barrels.
I've been volunteered for children.
Okay. So my suggestion is, if you can put a note in, I like to. A lot of people say there's no need. The key part for me in many respects is, even if you don't, please don't leave it at this. If they accept you, please talk to them. Whatever it may be, just as a DM to say thank you for connecting, or however you wish to take it, but try and take the conversation forward. If you can use a conversation where you're talking about them rather than about you, then the likelihood is there's going to be more of a conversation to be had. So start with asking about them, or start by something, maybe even complimenting them. Couldn't help but notice you won an award last week. Look, just wanted to say thank you. It's something that we've been looking for, da-di-da-di-da. It's something that allows you to turn connections to conversations, and ideally to clients if you can. The real work is when you get them off LinkedIn. But I think there's a load of stuff that you can play with here if you want. The one I really do like, and we talked about it there, is using the comments for engagement, because I think that's a great way. It's their content, you're playing on their field, as it were, but you're just opening up the channel. And even if it is a gentle one, as I was showing before, looks like a great event. Actually seen a couple of your events recently, and they all looked really good content, so just wanted to reach out. I haven't said anything, but they will actually come back. Ideally, make sure that you're not lying, but then do follow up. And if I was going to give you a format for it, in that, don't just leave it as good, great post, because it's horrendous. Don't use the automated suggestions either, because you get the format for that. However, if you can, I encourage people to use this thing called rate. So first of all, read the post. I know it sounds really obvious, but if you're going to then ask them something that's in the post, then it clearly shows you haven't bothered to read it, and that immediately sort of diminishes. So read it, acknowledge something in it. I noticed that you talked to them a lot about apprenticeship, so important nowadays. Thank is the T. So really appreciate you highlighting that, because actually so many just pass it over and we never talk about it. And then the ears extend. Actually, do you do you think that this is important? Because we find time and time again that this is a key matter in what we do. Be interested in your opinion. Something which allows the conversation to continue if it's someone you have an interest in. And it's really just a case of, it won't be all the same each time, of course, but just make sure you've read the thing. If you can acknowledge, so that shows you've read the thing, and then you just take it forward. Or the extent might be you giving your opinion on it. We find that actually this works much better because we find this. You could then ask the question: would that be your experience as well? So again, you're showing a bit of you're showing a level of knowledge, but you're not trying to overtake the conversation, unless they've put some real rubbish in there, in which case up to you. But it just works that system just a little bit. And the thing that I will add in, and again, you may be very familiar with this already, but if I do leave a comment, so Lucy here, for example, if I leave a comment, LinkedIn should give Lucy a notification that I've left a comment. However, to make sure, what I do is I put @ and then I choose Lucy, or I type Lucy's name in. Thanks for sharing, Lucy Knight, Associated CIPD. Congratulations on your success. So we've left the comment. This should, because this is a tag or a mention in LinkedIn's terminology, would make doubly sure that she gets notified that I've engaged with her content, leaving my face in her sort of homepage, if you like, and making sure that my work is going to get me to the next stage of engagement. So I quite like using the mention in there as though it's a conversational thing. The issue here, of course, is it seems all a bit false. Thanks for the post, Lucy Knight, open brackets, Associated CIPD. So if you just put your cursor to the end of the name and then just do backspace, it will take bits out until you get back to the one you want. It's still in bold, as you can probably see, so the tag, the mention is still in place, but now it becomes much more conversational. So it becomes a little less false. You don't want any sort of thing that's going to create this false idea in the head. So it allows, thanks so much, Lucy, and off we go. And so that just, again, just plays a little bit to it as well.
Can you just show me that again? I'm sorry.
So I've messed it. If I was then going to do...
The cursor bit, where do you put
So, okay, so I've chosen the people. I've created this, so let's do Andrew here instead of Lucy. So,
you can literally just...
So therefore, if I put it to the end of the name and then just backspace, it will take out either one word or the surname, and I'd quite like the Christian name just left in there. It just allows the conversation to be a little bit more natural.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah. So have a think about each of these and as to the ways that you might, shall we say, be able to put it together, and how the engagement, how the process can come in to actually get you in front of the people that you have a requirement for. Yeah? And I like the building and rapport like this because we're playing on their ground. Back to the big room for the last bit. Sorry, yeah, short on time, apologies. Doing all the chasing's great. As I've said, you can do the listening and the chat. This looks very much like an old Microsoft Windows logo. It wasn't. This was supposed to be a leaflet, so apologies for the crappy design here. Basically, what we could, of course, do is leave leaflets or little folders or whatever around the room so that actually as they come across it, they may read it and come and talk to me. Well, that's the idea of posting. Tenuous, wasn't it, for the whole Windows story there? Apologies. Clearly, what we'd love is that we post and actually people come and find us, that they love the stuff that we're doing. LinkedIn, unfortunately, has reduced the organic reach of late. So as you post, we seem to be reaching fewer people at the moment. We don't know why they're doing it, other than obviously the obvious if they want paid engagement, I don't know. But they're still worthwhile, in my opinion. I'm still a big fan. I threw this in here because I'd forgotten that we company page For those of you who haven't got a company page sort of set up, but you have websites and logos and everything, you might as well have a company page as well. It's free. For a lot of you, the main engagement is still going to be individually. But to have that as an entity, if you like, you've got one obviously, and there's 2 or 3 of you as well who had. Do you get much engagement through that, or mainly through your own?
I much prefer using the personal one.
Yeah, and that's where LinkedIn is actually going to push the content much more. Having that, even at a basis of having the logo, which then pulls through onto your personal account, sort of squares the circle, which is why at the moment we keep it to one side, I think, for yourself, you were saying. So.
It just makes you as an individual seem more credible as well.
Well, there we go. Okay, interesting.
The association between yourself as the face of the business or representative of the business to the business.
And then the business itself. So there we go. Which is, yeah, absolutely. Which is for yourself, for example, where you've got multiple strings to your bow, then having you, but then have the company pages where you can start to push those different elements, and then you decide how you present you as the founder, stroke instigator, stroke whatever.
I'm in that sort of period of transitioning where I'll be losing some of the other stuff.
Okay, got it.
So that's
okay.
where I am at the moment.
So,
confusing on there.
but that would allow you, should we say, to keep all of those other strands if you still wanted to. The bits that I think from a posting perspective is still good. We still want to engage people. We want to share information. We want to cause interest. We want to show what's going on. So this is all good. What we struggle with, and actually perfect example from you said, the personal stuff coming through, is that LinkedIn has been changing massively. And so go back 5 years and posting corporate stuff and business stuff, a bit stuffy, but well, we knew where we were and all the rest of it. And then COVID came along and life and work and business all got very messy. And at the same time, LinkedIn had a big step change in terms of the demographics. So the biggest growing group on LinkedIn nowadays is the 25 to 35 group, who, let's face it, has generally grown up with one of these attached somewhere sort of close by, allegedly. There we go. So what's happened is that people have actually taken a lot of the stuff that perhaps used to be on Instagram or Facebook, and they've brought it across onto LinkedIn, sometimes with a sort of a degree of business and sometimes not. My encouragement to you is it's okay to do that, and that it's the level that would be right for you that you should do it. You're also, as I'm sure you've discovered, got so much more engagement when you post more personal stuff or personal stories, which I think a couple of you mentioned. And if you can do it, and it's not to everyone, I struggle on the personal side, how to do it. But if you can take these ideas, whether that is bringing in the business or just purely personal, then I think it's good. Posting for your audience, and I put this as an example someone sort of encourages me to think of. Imagine when you post that you're posting for an audience of 1. Think of the person that you are actually wanting to read this and write as though you were writing just for them. And that starts to make it much more able. I can't bore you. I set it up in this and we did this. And no, you want to, do you know, it's been a roller coaster of a ride. We want something which is just a little bit more lively. And think about it as a conversation starter more than anything else. Do be you. AI, as you've probably seen, is coming through loud and clear in so many different ways. So actually, people are sort of starting to notice that it's formulaic. So if we can find a way to be you, we now know this is real. And that's going to be more and more important, I think, when we write. Authentic, there we go. But also, again, this was, both of you, I think, the stories thing. We love stories. We remember stories. Tell me a story. It doesn't have to be your single story. Just tell a story of putting it into place. Again, no offense, coming back to yourself, but you told me situations where, you put this in place and actually a couple of people came back to you and said, well, almost it saved our lives because actually this happened. Doesn't have to be a story in terms of fiction. We're talking actually this has happened, but you present it not in this will save lives, you tell me. And it works really well. have something which is going to post. And the other thing I'll put in, and the reason that actually some of the fluffier stuff, the gentler stuff, is that we're at a lot of this stage. This tends to be, bread and butter to you. You know what to write in these areas because this is what you live, breathe every day. But sometimes we've got to get them interested. We've got to get them at the top of the funnel so that you can then show them why they should have an interest, how this can benefit them, show actually they need it. Yeah, all the good stuff that I'm sure you sort of work in other ways. Consider this also in your posting. Does it make sense in terms of, working through the funnel? Yep. Okay, very quickly then. In terms of 5 areas to consider when you post. Think of your content, what you post. We'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Think about consistency. Have a rhythm. If you're going to post once a week, great. If you're going to post once a day, great. If you're going to post more than once a day, forget it. Okay? Please don't. But maybe a couple of times a week. Don't post 10 times in one day and then nothing for a month. Yeah.
So, with your experience of LinkedIn, do you think, because there's always this debate about like what time of day, and with the old social medias, it was very clear that that did have an influence.
Yeah, it's 10:35 on a Wednesday. I read the HubSpot report.
Is it?
No, they do say morning, midweek. It tends to be there. When you post on LinkedIn, LinkedIn pushes your content out to about 6 or 7% maximum of your connections. And it then listens to what the reaction of that percentage is. And it tries to make it once you've engaged with your post, hence that idea of the commenting, the direct messaging, or people who've listened to your stuff before. If they've liked it, commented, etc., LinkedIn says this is going well, we'll send it out to another 6, 7%. And if they think that's good, that's brilliant, we'll send out to some more. Therefore, I guess what I would suggest is, people tend to be around mornings more than afternoons, except for me. Actually, I find afternoons are quite good because it also taps into the mornings of the Americans who I engaged with. So actually, for me, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon is quite a good time. If I'm doing London, on the other hand, I tend to do it between 6:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning because that's when they're all on public transport going into London, if they're going into the office. So that's a good time. Did some stuff with the warehousing, Market Harbour, so nearest to here, there's a warehousing association. And I said the same thing. And they said, they're all working then. I said, well, when do they clock off? Usually about 1 o'clock. I said, well, post then, because that's when they're going to get the phones out and be on looking at the stuff. So for me, it depends a little bit. There are some general ones. Please don't post at 11 o'clock at night because there's not going to be anyone around, apart from the saddos like me, looking at it. Yeah? So from that perspective, you're unlikely to get the engagement, which is going to trigger a response from LinkedIn to say, let's spread it further.
So it's thinking about who you're trying to speak to.
I think so.
Understanding their life around.
To an extent, please don't overthink it. I mean, we could go too far. So mornings tends to be better, but people will say stay clear of weekends. I post lighter stuff at weekend. I won't do a sort of, take the algorithm apart on a Saturday, but I will. That would be my personal stuff, a bit more sort of paddleboarding out on the Broads. So I'll post that, and bloke blocking the view. That's me. But I'll show some views there, and people will say looks great, fabulous, and looks great, etc. So I will put it out, and it will get decent engagement usually, just because there's less competition and it's a bit lighter. So play these things, and that would be at your awareness level. So that hopefully then during the week, they'll then find all the sort of content stuff that I actually put out. So that's sort of, long answer as ever, sorry. Very quickly, last bits. If you look at your content side, let's go back just very quickly. Consistent, creative, the types of content you put out, videos, multiple images, documents, etc. Try and mix it up. Yeah? Community, that's a reminder that if someone comments on your post, please talk to them. Use the mentions. No need to use hashtags. Hashtags are really dying on LinkedIn. by all means put some in there, but it's not going to affect the algorithm anymore. Unfortunately, LinkedIn has decided to do away with them, which is a pity. And a call to action. If you've asked someone to do something, then telling them what to do at the end of it would seem to be a good thing to do. There was a lot of to-dos there, wasn't there? The content, final bit. You need to promote yourself. So branded content's really useful. If you just talk about yourself, people are going to switch off. So maybe 1 in 7, 1 in 8 posts, something along those lines, because we want to put it out there. But if that's all we talk about, not great. Tell them how to do stuff so they can try it. They like that. So actually practical examples is really good, showing it in action, because now you're not talking about, I do models with sand. All right, okay, I do sand models as well. They're called sand castles. It's on the beach. What are you on about? Show them how people love them. God, look at that. So we all have things of that nature, whether it's things in action or examples or, I don't know, little snippets of information. Thought leadership. They love to think someone actually leading the way. So we like to follow that. So if you have posts like that, the sort of white paper type stuff, the real sort of in-depth, then it's great. But we can't produce that more than a couple of times a year, for goodness sake. A, you don't want to give it away. B, it just takes too long. So do put those in, but keep it sort of lighter. Final one is the one I'm afraid that is getting a lot of the eyeballs, to be honest, and that is the relatable stuff. Whether it's your story, whether it's your team, whether it's charity stuff, whether it's walks on the beach with the dog because you can't be at it 24/7, you have to have a break sometimes. And I don't mean that in any sort of putting it down way, but that is going to be so much more relatable than this in-depth piece. But both are necessary. So actually try and play both if you can. But that mix is all important. And to give you some ideas of where you might go on that, events, you go to loads of events, don't you? Yeah? Do you take pictures of you at events? I've seen your stuff actually, so you do, don't you? Which is great, because that's what we need. We love to see people. Learn.
I know.
We should have a selfie taking course. Can't take selfies for save my life.
My arm's not long.
I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, it took me 15 years to realise you can press the down thing and it'll take a photo, for God's sake. It's about, do take photos. People who were there will want, here's me with someone, here's me, yeah. They'll see, am I in the photo? And people who weren't there will say, looks brilliant, why wasn't I there? And maybe you throw in, went to a keynote, went to see a workshop, you tag the person who gave it in. It really does work. There's a lady up in Norwich, she stopped doing it now, but her branding was all about, she wore leopard stuff and she was very loud, very out there. Her photos of events were very different to my take on events. My event was, hi, I went to this event and there's the logo and here I am. And it was a very nice talk and I loved the talk and super. And I might tag a couple of people. And here it was, here's me with these people, here's me with some more people, here's me with some more people. Whose post did better? Not mine. So it actually worked really well and it got a load of branding, it got a load of visibility. And that's great. And she's really good at what she does. And so that was brilliant because she could back it up. So have a think. And if you're running your own events, please pre-inform them you're going. Drip feed what you're going to be talking about. Show the stand in preparation. Here we are at the first. Here's some people who come to the stand. All of these things are really good. If you want to take it to the personal stuff, again, sorry to come back to yourself, but it's a perfect example of the work and the personal thing. It does not have to be deeply personal things. I tend not to talk about my visits to the AA. Car problems, you see, car problems, that's the trouble. So I wouldn't go down to personal stuff. That's me. Others will share lots of personal stuff. It's just, so you will do what's comfortable for you. What I would share, however, is, for example, personal work things, as it were. Why do you do what you do? What drives you? 5 things about you. You make those as personal as you wish. Challenges, behind the scenes in a day. I mean, that's a fabulous one. You've got loads of stuff you could put in there. experience you had with clients, or counter objections about your industry, or show actually. These are all really personal stories. We're back to the story again. And actually works really nicely to get people in front of what you want to tell them. Creative, as I said, videos, all sorts of stuff. And just as a final thing, if I gave you that picture, what would you look at first? Sorry, that image of the front page. Photograph? Yeah? After that?
Probably the masthead first. And then
Oh, you like the masthead? Okay.
I used to be a journalist.
Oh, well.
So.
No one's perfect.
That's who you are, really, isn't it?
Fair point. No, the masthead actually, yeah. For a lot of people it's the image, some people it's this, and as you so rightly say, it's this. So all of them are designed to attract attention. If we go to LinkedIn, then, and I go back to here, well, we have, well, I'm gobsmacked. There we go. I've been writing all these thoughtful posts about finance stuff. Guess what he's going to be writing out? There we go. And all I had to do was put a picture of a paddling pool. I imagine is the basic sort of premise of this. So here's your headline, and here is your visual. We can't do a masthead.
Well, that's up there already.
Absolutely. So it's a case of what is going to stop the scroll. Here we've got people going on. So we've got activity. We've got AI stuff. No more cover letters. So in each of these cases, the people one really sort of takes on board things. But if we can also put here something which is almost like your hook, like in the about section, then it's something that can actually sort of draw attention, draw people in. And it does work. And we do have to compete against pictures of fluffy dogs and cats and all the rest of it. And what do I go with? Bloke holding a board, for God's sake. But there we go, such is life. If you put this underneath each other, then visual, make it one that's, well, better than that, obviously. But people work better than stock images and better than simple, if you can. There's the 2 lines or the 3 lines as you have, which is your hook, to try and get people involved. And if we can, hopefully, to then get them to click on the see more, at which point they see your full content. On the back of that, what's your call to action? Thoughts below. What's your impression been? Click here to read more. Oh, sorry, click here to download. It doesn't have to be that. It can simply be come and share. And that might be a call to engage rather than a call to action, perhaps. And sometimes people are pushing this sort of signature thing in there as well. So that can be quite nice. So they have a similar thing after each session. And that allows me, for example, on my personal one, to draw people in with a little bit more work-related stuff. So have a work, see if it can work best for you. And if you can get the type of content which mixes it and get your support in there and some media and get the visibility, then hopefully we're in a position where we start to get people talking to you through the posts, and that will give you something that you can then get your hooks into and develop. Final slide.
Yeah. And you can have your lunch.
Then you can go and get some fresh air. Thank you for sticking with me, by the way. I don't think there's any success, a secret, if you like. You know, people are sort of selling secrets and all the rest of it. It is really, for me, it's all about you and actually how you would work the room. I will encourage you to work a process. So if you are finding people that you've got and you've got 20 people, there are going to be more than that out there. So what are we going to do? Well, maybe, because we can only invite about 15 a day, again, coming back to the algorithm and how LinkedIn are sort of tracking that, but build in a process of send 15 a connection request. And if they come back, don't immediately go for the pitch, but do follow up with them. So have a process. And sometimes actually engaging on their posts is going to be so much better than you simply trying to find them and knocking on the front door. Focus on, again, what's going to attract your target audience. Think of your pillar posts. Think of how you would engage with them, but asking about them rather than starting with you. And again, that just starts the process so much better. Find the right people. Don't forget to leverage the network. Yeah, again, if we can get that warm intro. As I said, if I referenced, I think, Joe, when talking to you, I said, notice you were talking to him, da-da-da-da. We're just trying to build your reference points, where our worlds overlap, if you like. There's a lady, I've come up with SALTY for some reason, as in an acronym, which was show a link to you. There we go, show a link to you. A lady called by the name of Sam McKenna, who does a lot of Sales Navigator stuff, has a much nicer one, which is show me you know me. In other words, just show me where our relationship actually does exist out there. Because if you do that, I'm much more likely to listen to you and talk to you. Find, develop the relevant conversations and develop them exactly as you would do face to face. There's a theme you may have noticed. And finally, again, talk, engage, and create a system that moves them off LinkedIn, because actually that's where the real business happens. Yeah, so we're just working the system, but ultimately to get them back into that real big room, or on the screen, or in front of you, because that's where they're going to sign, or that's where the real you starts to come through. And so work the room, get in front of your audience, complement with all the other stuff you do, the speaking, the engagements, all of the other things that you do naturally. Just open those doors to conversations and hopefully to business going forward. Sorry, long one, but I hope there's been some bits in there that you can sort of work with and has opened up some ideas for you to play with, and I guess that's a key bit. Sir?
When you're tagging people or businesses,
yep.
Is there a way of grouping that?
No.
So you can just lump them all and you just go to each of them?
Oh, no. Do you mean you're going to want to do the same ones time and time again?
Actually, if you're to sort of want to chat out to an investment community, and
yeah.
pick a few people say, hey, this is what I'm doing in that space.
Yeah, no, once you've done it once, you have to do them all individually to start with. However, having done that, if you go back to your own post, edit, and then do it. If you don't edit, it'll just take the names because it's taking the display text. If you go into edit, because it's your post, and then do it, it will hold the tags. So you can then do it, just recreate it time and time again. But you have to go into the edit first.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really useful.
You just copy it sometimes.
Anything else? I've bludgeoned you into submission. Oh, go.
Verifications.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
It is LinkedIn basically trying to check that you're you. And at the moment they say verified people get 4 times more views. It's total rubbish. At the moment I have not seen any detriment to not being verified as yet. Is it a good thing for reassurance? Well, a lot of people ask, what is that verification thing? Which means it probably isn't impacting people too much, but may do. The issue is that to verify, they're doing it in Europe through a company called Persona, and Persona requires your passport, which a lot of people are really not that keen on giving away. So at the moment, I would suggest no need. And so I wouldn't go down that route unless you're happy with that, in which case, by all means do. There is a second verification method, which is a company page getting verified with the attached domain name. And then if you've got an email address on your account which uses that domain name, LinkedIn takes that as a verification. So verifying your company page, where you've jumped through other loops, may be a better route long term. They will probably change it. They'll introduce new ways. People who haven't got the same name on LinkedIn as they have on their passport can't verify themselves because the system won't allow it. So at the moment, don't get too hung up about it. But over time, as more and more AI stuff and fake stuff comes in, we may benefit. But hopefully, they'll introduce new ways to do it.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Let us go. Let us go, Mark.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right.
3 hours of fun time, lots to think about.
Oh, when? Oh, no, sorry.
Lots to think about and lots to reflect on. But more importantly, I think we have action points, things to do. How to position, we went behind the scenes on LinkedIn to figure out what needs doing, and it's been a great session. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you for the invite, and thank you all for your time.
The next event we have is a Tech and Skills Builder series happening on the 10th of July at the Careers and Enterprise Hub, our venue in the town centre. If you want to learn more about it, please speak to Regina after the session. But it's on Statium, and so if you go to Statium, you will be able to get registered. Regina.
All about data and AI, so your data strategy. So actually it links very nicely into if you're building your really your customer database, whatever you might be doing, then a session to help you with that, and then working with AI to kind of digitise anything that you're doing. So yeah, so 10th of July, 12 o'clock till 2 p.m.
Thank you, Regina. I have to ask. The first is, what would you like the next session to look like? And I'd like you to speak to me about it, myself, Regina, or Pete. What topics are key to you that you'd like us to reach out to our network to figure out who can solve that problem that you'd like to be a part of? And so if you can think about that, please let us know. Between Regina and myself, we always find a way to make sure these sessions are done, either in career, in the town centre, or here in the incubator. The second ask is data is important to us, as you can imagine. And so it'd be great for us to capture those who attended the meeting today. And so if you can do that with QR code outside, and just put it in and put that you attended the session, that would be fabulous. But aside that, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. It's been 3 hours of fun, Mark, and we had a great time speaking with you today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have the mic?
You can.
So just put it up. Okay.
Sorry.
Great, you got that. Thank you very much. I'll just put this off now.